We are at 10 a.m. Austin time. We will come to order. I'll recognize Ms. Hogarth from the Credentials Committee. Go ahead, Ms. Hogarth.
Good morning. It's 10 a.m. Austin, well,
and make
probably.
sure, wait, sorry, YouTube needs to be up. Let's get that done.
Oh, yes. What time is it in Austin? 10 o'clock? Yep.
It's 10 a.m. All right, go ahead, Ms. Hogarth.
Yeah, as 10 a.m. Austin time, there are 1,044 delegates credentialed and entitled to vote. These will be listed on the report provided to the secretary. This gives us a quorum of 418, a simple majority of 523, a 2/3 vote of 696, and a 7/8 of 914. The Credentials Committee would also like to introduce 3 alternates that states have asked us to add to their delegations. The names of those people are Beatrice Sutton from Colorado.
Okay.
I misspoke. Colorado would like to add a delegate, Beatrice Sutton. We've reviewed her records and she is eligible. Missouri would like to add Drew Hancock as a delegate. He is also eligible. Kentucky would like to add Dale Gillespie as a delegate. He is eligible.
Okay. Then we will do, I'm going to divide it just
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Harlos.
My computer, I'm having slight issues. I will have the screen up in one moment.
That's fine. So, Ms. Hogarth, are you moving to?
Yes, forgive me. Yes, I'd like to move that the revised roll of delegates that we've submitted be the official roll of voting members of the convention. Pardon me?
With the addition of the 3, correct?
With the addition of the 3 delegates.
Okay. So there's a motion to accept the revised credentials report. There's no need for a second. We can do a poll. Shall the revised credentials report be accepted? Yes, no, or abstain. There's a point of order from California Delegate Alicia Matson. Ms. Matson, go ahead. Ms. Matson, go ahead.
I believe the 2 questions ought to be taken up separately. The 7/8 is a much higher threshold, but and then also when
Are you requesting the division, Ms. Matson?
the Oversight Committee did the tokens for the debate participation, the delegations had full lists. So I would like to understand why they have space to add more delegates now. Was it because delegates were removed?
Are you requesting the division, Ms. Matson?
About adding delegates are typically taken up separately.
Are you requesting the division, Ms. Matson?
Yes.
Okay. Then we will do it as a divided question. The first vote will be to, I don't know, is there any real change in the report? Wasn't it 10:44 yesterday, Ms. Hogarth?
Yeah, I think it was 10:35.
I have 10:44 written down on my paper here.
Maybe it was. I can't
recall. It was. So
okay.
There's only one motion, which is to add the 3.
So how do we?
add
4?
There's only one motion. It's to add the 3.
Allocation.
I would like to amend that motion.
How?
actually. I would like to add these 3 names as alternates rather than delegates.
Okay,
I agree with Ms. Mattson that creates not an actual problem, but a potential, because I know that they're there to replace people, but a potential problem. And if we add them as alternates, then the delegation chairs are free to swap
So we're
them out.
missing 5.
okay. So there's a motion from the Credentials Committee to add the names Beatrice Sutton.
From Colorado, yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Drew Hancock
Drew
from
Hancock,
Missouri,
Missouri.
and Dale Gillespie
Dale
from
Gillespie,
Kentucky.
Kentucky, to add them as alternates. And they have been credentialed and are eligible, correct?
Their credentials have been reviewed, yes.
Okay, then we'll move to a vote. Shall the 3 delegates proposed by the Credentials Committee be added to as alternates?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Harlos?
because I was having the computer issues, can Ms. Hogarth read the initial numbers that she had read out?
Absolutely.
1044, 418, 523, 696, 914.
Hmm.
914.
Yeah, and I'm correcting where I had majority in the wrong spot.
Sure. That's right, Ms. Hogarth?
Correct.
Okay. All right, as soon as we're ready with the poll, we can add those alternates. Okay, please vote in the poll to add the 3 names as
Hey,
alternates
Dan.
for the additional.
Can you
credentials.
close the poll and reopen
Okay,
it
I'll let
for
them know.
panelists?
Yes, we
Thank
can
you.
pause it and reopen it for panelists as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, hosts and panelists cannot vote.
We got it.
That is not correct. Panelists can vote. I think only co-hosts can't vote. All right, that vote is going now. It's been open for 20 seconds.
I have a point of order.
Point of order from New Jersey Delegate Richard Edgar. Go ahead.
Hi. Oh, Dan Kraus is listed as a panelist. He is not a panelist.
Okay.
We have 2 panelists from our state right now. So demote Dan Kraus to a speaker or to a non-panelist.
Allow him the privilege of going back to the attendees and being an important person and not just a panelist.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what I thought I heard. I assume one of the co-hosts will take care of that.
Mr. Sarwark, can I be added to the end of the Q&A queue? This is Mimi from California.
Is it a privileged motion, Ms. Robeson?
It's a point of information. Several of my California delegates are telling me they did not get VP tokens. And also some are saying they're not getting Zoom tokens. I've texted Dan, but I just wanted to put it on the record so people know I'm here.
Yeah, well, I know you're here. Please work with Dan.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Whitney from Texas. We also have several people who should have received Zoom invitations who did not, and they have been delegates all along. So
Again,
not isolated.
Mr. Chair, I have a question or privilege before we get too far in that might be very important to today's vote.
Mr. Reel, we'll get to you in a second. Let me just get through the other points of privilege.
And Mr. Chair, I have a point of information. I can get back in line, but it relates to those invitation Zoom links.
All right, just let's. The poll's closed. 674 yes, 40 no, 54 abstentions, that being more than 7/8. Those 3 names are added as alternates. Thank you very much. Point of order. What? Who's point of ordering me?
That number is not 7/8 of the number of eligible.
It doesn't have to be 7/8 of the total membership. It has to be 7/8 of those voting.
It's number of voters here, isn't it?
It is not. It is the number of those voting. Now, point of personal privilege from Oklahoma Delegate Aaron Adams. Those people who are not speaking need to have their mics muted. People need to stop using the Q&A for things that are not privileged motions. I believe, Mr. Reel, you had a point of personal privilege. Then, Mr. Kelly, you had a point of information.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As I understand it, there is a candidate who was put in for vice president who is from South Carolina, and we have nominated Miss Jo Jorgensen, who is also from South Carolina.
Yes, I've done this point of information 3 times already yesterday. So
okay.
What further information do you have other than the fact that it would prevent the South Carolina electors, should the state be won, from putting both names in nomination?
I have delegates who have cast tokens already for Spike Cohen, who is ineligible.
No, he's totally eligible. It doesn't affect ballot access. It doesn't affect anything other than South Carolina electors.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yep, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the people who are not receiving their Zoom invitation links, they may have actually received it. The email may be labeled confirmation day 3, and that could be confusing because on previous days, that was what the attendance links were labeled. So I would just suggest they check all those emails.
Okay. Mr. Fishman, can you confirm that the election buddy for vice presidential nominating tokens did go out, and when it went out?
It went out last night, and it went to everybody who was a delegate at the time. So people who asked for changes overnight, those people did not get tokens.
Okay. There is a request for information to be provided from South Carolina Delegate Michael Peterson that Mr. Cohen would be willing to change his residence if it becomes an issue. Perfect. Mr. Perry raised a point of information that was incorrect. That 522 would be a majority of 1044, but you need 1 extra. So it is 523. There's a request for information from California Delegate Bruce Dovner about who specifically dispenses tokens, from who in my email, what email address. It would be from Election Buddy. All right, is Ms. Jorgensen or Dr. Jorgensen available? Has Dr. Jorgensen been promoted to panelist? She has, good. I would inquire of Dr. Jorgensen if she's prepared for her 5 minutes to address the delegation. Dr. Jorgensen, are you available and ready to address the delegation? Oh, that is out. So I do not believe that Dr. Jorgensen is available and ready to address the delegation.
I sat down and I saw myself.
We will be a little bit at ease, although I would ask anyone who is associated with the Jorgensen campaign to try and accelerate this process.
I'm texting her now, Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we will stand at ease until 10:20 Austin time.
I'd like to request delegation chairs that you make sure you notify the people that you are removing, because some people are getting removed and then giving me angry answers because you had removed them from changed them from delegate to alternate. So please confirm that with somebody you are removing as a delegate before sending me the link to remove them.
Oh, Nick, are you there?
Were you calling me Alex?
Oh no, I was talking to Nick because there's an answer about Joe Jorgensen in the Q&A, so I just wanted to bring his attention to it. Oh, Nick,
I
there's
have
something
returned.
about in the Q&A. There's some details from Stephen Dasbach regarding Joe Jorgensen.
Why am I not finding my video window? There it is. Is it post nomination? Let me double check. Does anyone have the bylaw up?
Yes.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Mr. Dasbach. Appreciate that. All right.
No problem.
So what we have is essentially we have to get the nomination tokens in. We have to get the nomination speeches done, 11 minutes per nominee. And then Dr. Jorgensen will address the body. And my apologies for having that order out of order. So, thank you.
Nick, I got a point when we get a chance.
Dave
Valente.
Give me a second. So there's a point of personal privilege for the Washington delegate chair to have camera access. That can be taken care of, Ms. Tiffany Diaz de Leon. There is a question from New Jersey Delegate Maria Bell of where is a current list of VP candidates. I don't think there is an actual list. You just have to, nominate people that you want. The tokens are out. The tokens will close in about 10 minutes. So get them in within the next 10 minutes so that we can figure out who is available and able to be nominated. Go ahead, Mr. Valente.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a point of information for Ms. Jorgensen. Does she have a recommendation for vice president?
Well, this is the issue, is that the bylaws specify that that is Rule 7, subsection 4, the party's nominee for vice president shall be chosen by the same procedure as for presidential, except the presidential nominee shall have the privilege of addressing the convention for 5 minutes. This is the part I missed. After nominations have been made, but before voting has begun, for the purpose of endorsing or objecting to any of the vice presidential nominees. Nominations for vice president shall close after the selection of the presidential nominee. So what we're going to do, Mr. Fishman's going to close the tokens in 10 minutes. So please do your tokens. And I'm supposed to remind, as a point of privilege, people who have a video window to turn your cameras off or maintain a professional demeanor. The YouTube channel, the Libertarian Party's YouTube channel is streaming this live. California Delegate Erin Starr asks whether or not we could suspend the rules so she can make her acceptance speech. We could suspend the rules to allow that, but I would rather follow the bylaws. So get your tokens in. We have 9 minutes to have the tokens in, and then that election buddy will be closed. If you have not received a token, get with your delegation chair about that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just tried to access my tokens to cast my tokens, and it says it's not working.
Okay. Are you the delegation chair, Dr. Ahmad?
I am.
All right, then
Says
get with
this
Mr.
ballot
Fishman.
doesn't seem to exist. Please contact your election administrator.
Yeah, I would suggest use the number and contact Mr. Fishman.
Thank you.
There's a request for information from Nevada Delegate David Colborn. What is the difference between after the election results and after the VP nomination for speaking queues? I don't think there is actually a difference, so I'll need to try and merge those together. There's a request for information from New York Delegate Justin Carmen. Has the contract for Orlando been signed and executed? It has not. It was provided to members of the LNC yesterday morning after or immediately prior to convention starting. It was the first time that many members of the LNC had seen the contract, and there are concerns from the counsel for the party about the contract that have not been addressed. And to my mind, I don't believe other LNC members have had the opportunity to review it unless they have Mr. Supreme's time machine and were able to do multiple things yesterday while we were in convention. Some people are getting ballot not working. I believe that Mr. Fishman sent out another VP token yesterday evening. So if you're trying to use the one from yesterday morning, it will probably not work. You have 7 minutes left. California Delegate Gail Lightfoot would like to know who is seeking the VP nomination. The people who are seeking the VP nomination, it's incumbent on them to let people know that they're seeking it. I'm aware of Spike Cohen, Ken Armstrong, Adam Kokesh, John McAfee, John Mons. I think that's it, but I don't know. And you know, the tokens are a first name, last name, or maybe it's just one name, but you know, it's Australian ballot style. You have to know who you're voting for.
Jeff Wood is also running for vice president.
And apparently Jeff Wood is running for vice president. There is a request for information. Is Mr. Brown online or is his connection still lost? There is a request for information from Texas Delegate Ed Kless. If the order of speaking is bylaws cannot be suspended, it can be suspended. It is actually in convention special rules, so it could be suspended by a 2/3 vote. There's a point of personal privilege to check whether or not you got a new authorization code. I had a new one this morning and that fixed the ballot. That's from Connecticut Delegate Matthew Long. So if you're having trouble with your token, that may be a thing to do. There are 5 minutes left until they will be closed. There's a point of information that Zoltan Istvan is apparently also seeking the vice presidential nomination. There is a point of information, Massachusetts Delegate Ashley Shade. Go ahead. Massachusetts Delegate Ashley Shade. Don't know if someone is taking care of. Go ahead, Ms. Shade.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out that Spike Cohen has confirmed that if there is an issue with the electoral votes where he would need to relocate, he would be willing to do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a point of information from Mr. Montoni with a list of people who are seeking the vice presidential nomination listed on lp.org. It's in the answered Q&A. Okay, we're gonna start recognizing some people. Florida Delegate James Ray. Go ahead, Mr. Ray.
Hi, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Do you hear me?
I do.
Okay, excellent. I just wanted to thank a few people. First of all, you and Mr. Merced and Mr. Fishman, who has been extraordinarily patient with me, have all done yeoman work. But the person I especially want to thank and recognize is Ms. Harlows. And we've all witnessed how much work she's done for this party during this convention. But what many of you may not be understanding is that she also works on something super important, our history. And we have to retain our party's history, says the old man, and also keep off of my lawn. That's it.
Thank you. I keep losing that window. Massachusetts Delegate Michael Eisenberg.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I have not actually raised my hand, but since you called me anyway, I'm not sure why. I'd just like to point out that what you already did, that there were several tokens for the vice presidential vote sent out yesterday. So if yours is not working, make sure you've got the latest one. Thank you.
Great. California Delegate Anthony Fratta.
I just wanted to thank the chair and the panelists. This is monumental. A lot of people strap wings to their back before the Wright brothers actually took off when the technology was there. Looks like the technology is there. And I'm just really proud to be a part of this. I was going to use my time to ask about the tokens, but you already answered that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, as a point of information, I've been informed that Soraya Foss is also seeking the vice presidential nomination. I have a point of order from California Delegate June Jennis that she will object if I rule that the tokens are closed when people still haven't received them. That objection will be noted and you'll be recognized to make it. Point of information from Oregon Delegate Timothy Perkins, who believes Mr. Molman desired to be recognized after the VP was selected, while the others were after multiple possible VPs have been nominated. That's that may be correct. We'll have to sort that out. California Delegate Kevin Moore has a point of information for the delegates. We have 1 minute to go until the tokens are due. Please get them in. Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to mention that if you're having trouble logging in to submit your VP tokens, which should have been received around 6:13 p.m. yesterday, the issue might be that you saved your ID and password when you logged in previously. The new tokens have a new login and password, and you will need to copy the link, paste it into your browser, and then re-enter the login and password. And Mr. Chair, I move that we extend the submittal of tokens for 5 minutes based on this new information.
I am not inclined to extend the deadline. We can have a vote on it if you want. But
yes, I would like to have a vote on that, extending the submission of tokens for Vice President for 5 minutes.
all right, Mr. Fishman, please don't close it until this vote is over. We will have a poll. Shall the deadline be extended to 10:35 Austin time?
Roger that.
Financial tokens.
Point of information, Mr. Chair. This is
Oregon
Carolyn
Delegate
Wade.
Carolyn Wade, go ahead.
That was 6:13 p.m. in what time zone?
What was 6:13 p.m.?
The announcement was that we should have gotten the VP tokens at 6:13 p.m.
That's California time zone.
Thank you.
Okay. We need a poll for shall the deadline for tokens be extended for 5 minutes?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
who was the mover of that, please?
Kevin Moore from California and a second from Aaron Adams. Right, the poll is out.
Seconds left.
30 seconds left on the poll. All right, 560 yes, 217 no, 25 abstentions. We will be extended until 10:35 to get your tokens in. You have 2 more minutes. Michigan Delegate Scotty Bowman is making a point of order that is not a point of order and will not be recognized. California Delegate Kenneth Olson is raising what I think is a point of personal privilege, that California delegates have not received them or are unable to vote, and they're requesting new tokens be sent out. That request will not be granted.
Can you shut the door, please? The door.
Live mic.
Right, it is 10:35. Mr. Fishman, please close the queue. Mr. Brown, the parliamentarian, is working on his internet connection and will rejoin us when he can. Mr. Fishman, if you could get those results and get them to the secretary to display.
On it.
Thank you. There's a request for information from Louisiana Delegate Chad Lemoine. What is to be done for delegates who haven't received token emails and who haven't been able to get a response after sending multiple emails? Nothing. There is a motion to extend the deadline another 5 minutes. That is out of order. There is an objection from California Delegate June Jenis. That is noted. There is a request for information from Delegate Scotty Bowman. Or there's a point of information that Scotty Bowman can get his answers done in the Slack channel. Ms. Jenis, please recognize Ms. Jenis from California. Go ahead, Ms. Jenis.
I'm not sure. Am I unmuted? Yeah, okay.
You are.
It's just totally unfair to exclude people from participating in the token process because National couldn't get the information to them that they needed to complete their task as delegates. I therefore object to your ruling that tokens are now closed, and I believe that the token collection should be extended until the state chairs can confirm that they are no longer hearing objections from their delegates.
No.
No what?
The answer is no.
There will be a challenge later of some sort, I'm sure.
Okay. There's a request from California Delegate Alicia Matson to appeal the ruling of the chair. Go ahead and recognize Ms. Matson.
Okay. A delegate had moved to extend the deadline and the chair just ruled it out of order. He didn't say why. He didn't cite any rule.
That is incorrect, first of all, Ms. Matson. We did extend it 5 minutes.
And Ms. Jenis, Jenis's point is well taken. It's also not out of order for us to try to protect delegate rights. And so I appeal the ruling of the chair that it's out of order to extend this deadline further.
It can't be extended after it's already passed. So how are you appealing that somehow we can go backwards?
No, I thought there was a second request to extend it further and you said it was out of order.
No, I don't believe there was a second. There was a first request to extend it for 5 minutes that passed.
And then you read something from the Q&A, another request to extend, you said it was out of order. Okay, regardless, Ms. Jenis has objected to it and you just told her flat no, we're not going to make accommodation for delegates who have not been able to exercise their rights.
There are no accommodations for deadlines.
I will move that if there are delegates who still say they haven't received it, we will extend the deadline further 10 minutes.
That motion is out of order. The deadline has already passed. The token system has already been collected.
What makes it out of order? What is the citation that makes it out of order?
The thing has happened.
It's a deadline. We can extend it.
No, we can't.
Point of order, there's a motion and an appeal of the chair's ruling.
There is not yet an appeal.
Well, I put in the Q&A that I'm appealing the ruling.
What ruling are you appealing?
You just told me it's out of order to extend the deadline.
Because
it's not out of order.
It has already, the tokens have already been collected at the deadline. The system has already tallied the tokens. We cannot move backwards in time. It is therefore out of order to extend a deadline past when a thing has already been done. What you are
not a rational
attempting
answer.
to do is restart the token.
Are you telling me it's impossible to allow delegates, if I assume we're talking about a handful probably, to somehow transmit their information to be added to whatever the system tallied, even if it's not possible to reopen the system?
Yes.
That's what you're going with? I appeal that ruling.
Okay. Ms.
that
Matson has appealed from the ruling of
and
the
I want to
chair.
extend to give them time to submit their
You've
information.
appealed from the ruling from the chair. So we will see whether or not my ruling will be sustained. The question is whether or not the ruling of the chair shall be sustained that it is out of order to extend the deadline after the deadline has passed and the system is collected. My ruling is that it is out of order because the thing has already happened. Ms. Matson disagrees. She has appealed my ruling. We will have a poll. Shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? Ms. Matson, did you want to argue it any further? Would anyone else like to be heard to
No, I
debate?
think I made my point. We can clearly extend a deadline.
Okay. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized on the appeal from the ruling of the chair?
I would like to be heard with a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Wade.
You've said that it's impossible, and I don't have information about how Ballot Buddy works. Could you explain that impossibility, please?
Yes. So when an election buddy ballot is sent out, it has a deadline. The deadline on the election buddy ballot was set to be, I think, 6 p.m. tonight or something, because we didn't know how long it would be before presidential balloting would be done when we sent out the original ballot. When we set the deadline this morning to be a half hour after we convened, we set that deadline so that we would be able to have the nominating speeches. That deadline was set. That deadline was then extended for 5 minutes after a vote of the delegates. When that deadline was hit, the extended deadline of 10:35 Austin time, Mr. Fishman, at my direction, closed the balloting so that the results could be presented and we could find out who can be nominated. The balloting has been closed. That ballot is closed. That ballot is no more. It is unable to be opened. We would have to create a new ballot. That is why it is not possible to go backwards. Does that make sense?
It's the Ballot Buddy system that does not allow it to be reopened.
Because when you stop the ballot, that's when it gives you the results.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Go ahead, Dr. Ahmad.
I realize I risk being fed to the alligators, but
You do.
my question is there some way that Ms. Matson and the people she's asking for can achieve what they want other than the impossible reopening of the...
Yeah, they can move to suspend the rules to try and nominate somebody who doesn't get enough tokens.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Point of order, Dr. Ahmad just jumped in front of 43 people in the Q&A.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Let me see what the Q&A says. There's a point of personal privilege. Wyoming Delegate Bethany Baldez needs to be elevated to panelist. There's a point of personal privilege. California Delegate Elisheva Levin is having difficulty logging into Zoom. That needs to be taken up with her delegation chair. There's a point of personal privilege that anonymous Q&A should be turned off. There is a point of order that Spike Cohen is unable to access the meeting. That needs to be taken up with his delegation chair. There is a point of order that there was a request motion to extend after the nominations close, which is an inappropriate motion at that point from Ohio Delegate Homer Taft. There's a point of personal privilege to suggest please don't have your cameras on if you're going to be not acting professionally or you're going to be doing other things that you'd rather not have on video.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Barlos?
Richard Brown just sent me a message that there's a cable outage in his area and
I'm
he is
aware.
going, thank you.
There's a point of personal privilege from Tennessee Delegate Tricia Butler that delegates had 12 hours to straighten this out. There's a point of order from California Delegate June Jennis that she objected before the deadline. There is There is a California delegate, Kenneth Olson, appeals the ruling of the chair that if Vermin Supreme were chair, we could go back in time. There is a request for information related to this from California delegate Avins O'Brien. How many tokens were sent back in comparison to how many were sent out, Mr. Fishman? Do you have those numbers?
I do. One moment. Of the 1,035 tokens sent out, 940 are returned.
Thank you, Mr. Fishman. There is a parliamentary inquiry from Minnesota delegate Justin Jelinek as to whether or not a motion to restart the token process is in order. It would be in order at such time as you were recognized in the normal speaking queue.
If I might add one other point of information.
Yes, Mr. Fishman.
Of the 10 people who told me that they had not voted, 9 of them actually had voted last night and forgotten about it.
Thank you, Mr. Fishman. Is there anyone, I'm trying to go through this Q&A, there's a lot of it. Is there anyone else? I'm going to recognize California delegate June Jenis. Go ahead. She was seeking to be recognized on the appeal from the ruling of the chair.
Yeah, you recognize me and you just rejected me. I mean, I think that I could have requested extending the time when I objected to the fact that you were going to close it. But you just referred me to be recognized after the close, which defeated the whole purpose. So I still think that the objection being raised by Ms. Benson is valid, and I will support the overturn of the ruling of the chair.
Thank you, Ms. Jenis. Ohio delegate Homer Taft. Ohio delegate Homer Taft, go ahead.
Sorry, had a screen that stopped me from getting there. I support the ruling of the chair. My recollection is that the chair said that the nominations were closed before there was any motion to keep them open, after there'd been a motion passed to close the nominations at a time certain. And it was closed at a time certain. I would say, for the benefit of the chair and the benefit of the delegates, I placed myself in the queue because understanding that there have been some challenges to the vice presidential token process and having to recast it, depending on the announced result when Mr. Fishman does that, I might have a motion respecting consideration of vice presidential candidates, but I think we need to support the chair and get on with it.
All right. You have now burnt almost 5 minutes on this appeal from the ruling of the chair. Illinois delegate Christopher Thrasher and Texas delegate Laura Valle would both like to be recognized. Mr. Thrasher and then Ms. Valle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, I rise in support of the appeal of the ruling of the chair. Respectfully, sir, you have done yeoman's work to keep this meeting running. However, the manner in which you dismissed the delegate's valid concern regarding the inability to cast a vote due to technical issues does raise quite an issue, and therefore I will vote to appeal the ruling of the chair. Thank you.
Texas delegate Laura Valle.
Thank you for recognizing me, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, I am voting in favor of overturning the ruling of the chair. I support Ms. Madsen in her desire to protect the rights of the delegates. And I believe that the chair respectfully is showing bias towards certain delegates, because at other times when appealing the ruling of the chair has offered helpful comments such as the substance of the ruling. The substance of the objection, the chair has offered helpful suggestions such as how to accomplish their objective in other ways, but in this particular instance did not do so. And I just believe that the substance of what she's arguing, rather than simply dismissing it without explanation, it deserves an explanation. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to proceed to a vote on this appeal from the ruling of the chair. We will have a poll. Shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? Again, the deadline had been extended. The deadline was met. Mr. Fishman was instructed to collect the tokens. The tokens were sent, and all but about 40 of them were returned. So the poll is out. Shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? A yes sustains the ruling of the chair. A no overturns the ruling of the chair. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds for the vote. All right, there's about 15 seconds left in the poll. I have 850 out of 947 have voted so far. Again, the question is, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? That is out of order to request additional time for VP token gathering.
Mr. Chairman, this is Richard Brown. I am back online now. I lost my internet connection and I'm using my cell phone as the hotspot, but I am back.
Welcome back. The poll being closed with 864 total votes. 557 yes, 264 no, 44 abstentions, 557 to 264. The ruling of the chair is sustained. Mr. Fishman, if you could please share the results of the vice presidential nominating token process.
Still counting, sir. I'm about 5 minutes out.
Okay. There's a point of order from California Delegate Joe Dean.
My point of order related to the closing of the ballot. But at this point, that's over. And I think the simplest thing to do is just let Fishman show us the results and see if anybody was close, and then find out whether any of these people who couldn't vote wanted to vote for the people who was close.
Thank you. There's
I
a
believe I should transmit the results to the secretary. Do we agree?
probably.
All right, we'll do.
And there's an issue, Mr. Fishman, which we will get to, that Spike Cohen is apparently not a delegate, and so we'll need access to Zoom in order to be able to speak.
I will send him a link in momentarily.
Thank you.
Actually, I believe Mr. I'll do that.
There's a point of personal privilege from Georgia Delegate Stephen McClure. Mr. McClure, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. McClure. Mr. McClure from Georgia. Right, there's a point of personal privilege. California Delegate Kenneth Olson, that Delegate Christopher Ganier has not received the Zoom invitation. He requests the link be resent. I think that that should be done through the delegation chair, Mr. Olson, so please get with Ms. Robeson.
I sent the results to Ms. Harlow, so I think we'll need a few minutes to format them.
Okay. There's a request for information about when balloting began and how many had not submitted. I think balloting began last night at 6:13 p.m. Pacific time. And the people who had not submitted a ballot, I believe, were under 100. There's a request for information as to whether or not delegates who have not gotten VP tokens could submit their votes via their delegation chairs. It's theoretically possible. And if it matters, then maybe we can get there.
That would require validating that they had not voted. And as I said, overwhelmingly, people who told me they did not vote had actually voted the last night.
Thank you. Alabama delegate Elijah Boyd still needs to be elevated to be Alabama delegation chair. There is a request for information or a point of information from Michigan delegate Andrew Hall that if your candidate did not get 30 tokens, you can suspend the rules to nominate them anyway. There are questions from delegates about whether or not we could have just sent ballots to the people who hadn't voted. I don't know that answer technically. I believe it's moot now. All right, the results are being displayed for the VP token counts. Mr. Kokesh.
Am I ready to talk?
What?
Sorry, I walked away from my computer. You called upon me, I apologize.
You had raised a point of personal privilege.
Yes, I did. I've been removed from the list 3 times in a row. And it's a little annoying.
Okay.
And the only way I can talk is if I raise a point of personal privilege.
Well, if you keep abusing the point of personal privilege, you'll stop being recognized for it. All right, the vice presidential nomination tokens having been submitted, Mr. Kokesh received 69 tokens, Mr. Armstrong received 115, Mr. Hornberger 14, Mr. Mons 296, Judge Jim Gray 6, John McAfee 6, Larry Sharp 21, Nicholas Sarwark 20, Spike Cohen 302, Sam Robb 5, Michael Heiss 2, Ron Paul 2, Tulsi Gabbard 2, Vermin Supreme 7, Zoltan Istvan 7. So eligible to be placed in nomination for vice president, Adam Kokesh, Ken Armstrong, John Mons, and Spike Cohen. All right, I have a point of personal privilege from Pennsylvania delegate Roy Minette. With the considerable practice that everyone has had, can you return to 90 seconds for poll responses? I think I will go back to 90 seconds for poll responses. I think 2 minutes has been a little bit of a delay, and so I think we'll go back to 90 seconds. There is a request for information from Ohio delegate John Faulkner. If there are multiple requests to suspend the rules to add candidates, could those requests be consolidated into one motion in the interest of saving time? That would be nice, but I can't bet on it. I have a point of personal privilege from California delegate Kenneth Olson that the delegation chair doesn't send the invitations or the election buddy tokens, that's in the hand of national. Yes, and the delegation chair has a direct line to the executive director. All delegation chairs do, and they should use it.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Ahmad, you'll be at the end of the line.
thank you.
There is a point of order from California delegate Aaron Starr. Mr. Starr, go ahead with your point of order.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, two points. First is, I believe we made a decision yesterday that all the candidates who received a sufficient number of tokens for the presidential nomination automatically are part of the nomination or the ballot for the VP.
We did not.
Okay. I think we did, but we'd like to see some confirmation from the secretary on the minutes for that.
Ms. Mattson, can you answer this quickly? Or not Ms. Mattson, Ms. Harlos, sorry.
While she is looking, Mr. Chairman, it was my recollection it did, but I agree we need to see what the secretary has.
Okay. So in addition, I have a request for information. Can the chair receive confirmation that the candidates meet the eligibility requirements for the office, including whether they are sustaining members of the party? So at the appropriate time, I wish that he would do so.
I mean, I can. Is there a particular candidate you believe is not?
I'm not saying that there is one. I'm just simply saying it's probably a simple matter of asking staff, for example, whether they are sustaining members of the party.
Okay. Ms. Harlos, did you find out?
I'm checking on that.
Okay.
Mr. Sarwak, point of personal
But
privilege.
I need to ask though, Mr. Starr, you had raised a point of order. What was the point of order?
The point of order is that we adopted a rule yesterday that said that anybody that met the requirements of the presidential nominating tokens would automatically be included in the list of candidates for VP as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Turkish of
So
Georgia.
in other words,
Mr. Starr, suspend. Ms. Harlos, yes?
It failed. It was moved by Mr. Turkish of Georgia to allow all the candidates who are nominated for president and do not receive the nomination to be placed in nomination for vice president without the need to obtain the needed number of vice presidential tokens. The suspension of the rules received 470 yes, 442 no. It failed.
Thank you. Dr. Ahmad.
Thank you. I would like to be recognized for a point of information when it's appropriate.
Go ahead.
Does anyone have any idea what fraction of the people who have been voting on the ballots are coming in after the 90-second time?
It's probably sub 10%.
10%. Thank you so much.
Probably less than 10%. Typically, we get up to, if there's about 900 some people participating, within a minute and a half, we've got at least 700 votes.
Thank you.
All right. So as far as I know, all 4 of the people who did receive enough tokens will accept a nomination and would want to be placed in nomination. I'm going to ask Missouri Delegate Tiefenthaler has indicated that he has a privilege motion. I will recognize Mr. Tiefenthaler to see whether or not he has a privilege motion.
Hello, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and add John David McAfee to the vice presidential ballot for the Libertarian Party of the United States.
That is not a privileged motion.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay. It also would be very likely to fail, but we will go and I'm going to ask if anybody wants to, let's just ask, if anyone wants to make a motion to suspend the rules, please put in the Q&A that you want to move to suspend the rules to nominate somebody who is not eligible. And we will make a determination whether or not that will be deemed dilatory. I am seeing no one in the Q&A. Mr. Molman, are you seeking to be recognized to suspend the rules? we can get Kenneth Molman from Kentucky.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I would like to move to suspend the rules to convert the presidential tokens into vice presidential tokens.
I would ask you, what effect is that going to have?
I would make anyone who was not made a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate who had qualified as a presidential candidate
Who did it apply to, Mr. Molman?
What's that?
What are you trying to do, Mr. Molman?
I'm sorry. I am trying to.
No, I heard your motion to suspend. Why?
To make candidates eligible to become vice presidential candidates.
Who are
What's
you
that?
trying to make eligible who is not?
Any of the candidates who received enough presidential tokens.
All right.
To be
Can
nominated.
I clarify? Is there somebody who got enough presidential tokens that wants to be vice president that didn't get enough vice presidential tokens?
Mr. Chair, I am not aware. It's just something we've done in the past. That's why I'm bringing the motion.
The rules failed yesterday. Do you anticipate it getting a different result today?
I genuinely do not know, sir. The circumstances have certainly changed now that we have nominated a candidate.
All right.
I understand that we want to get moving forward, but this has been a tradition in the party.
It was a tradition that failed at the last presidential nominating convention, but I suppose it has been a tradition.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Molman?
I mean, if we wanted to ask those candidates that it...
We don't know who they are. That's my point. You're making a motion without having a purpose.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. That's the way the motion's been done in the past. It is...
I'm aware of...
I'm trying to think of who was all in there. There were 6 or 7 people that qualified for POTUS. 5 or 6 of them did not make it. And if any of them wish to be switched over, I mean, obviously it's up to them to accept the nomination.
Right. So why is it that you're moving to suspend for everyone instead of letting people move to suspend for the people who want to get into the nomination?
Mr. Chair, I was hoping that rather than going person by person, that one motion would actually be more expedient. That was actually my hope.
It is not the case, but we will allow that motion for suspension if you want to persist in it. Please set up a poll for that motion to suspend the rules.
Darryl Perry's got a point of information listing the candidates in the Q&A.
No, you know what, Mr. Molman, there are points of order being raised that this is in effect dilatory because you're asking us to consider the same question from yesterday and that this would be out of order. I'm going to rule it out of order. Would you like to appeal my ruling, Mr. Molman?
Mr. Chair, I would only appeal the ruling if there were other people that wanted to do so. I am not going to appeal the ruling if others want to. That is fine. I'm not trying to be dilatory, and I apologize.
It's okay. Ohio Delegate Donald Kissick is going to appeal the ruling of the chair. Mr. Kissick, you'll be recognized. Ohio Delegate Kissick.
Yes, I just needed time to unmute.
Go ahead.
Chairman, this is going to keep coming up. I appeal the ruling of the chair so we can just have one vote, get it over with, instead of having this drag out like it did yesterday.
If you didn't appeal the ruling, we don't have to appeal it. But since you have appealed the ruling, we will have a poll on whether or not the ruling of the chair should be sustained. Please put out the poll. Thank you, Mr. Kissick. There's a point of order from Mr. Starr. Mr. Starr, what's your point of order?
Thank you. Well, I won't be voting in favor of the suspension of the rules. I think your ruling is incorrect because a suspension of the rules can be renewed the next meeting. So the previous suspension was made yesterday. According to our rules, such a suspension or motion to suspend can be made at the next meeting. So for that reason, I would vote to overturn your ruling. However, when the motion comes up to actually renew this, I will be voting it down. But I just think your ruling is incorrect.
Okay, the food is down there now.
The poll is out. Whether the ruling of the chair should be sustained. A yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair.
Did you hear me?
So the page is 262, by the way.
What was that, Mr. Starr?
So on page 262, Robert's Rules of Order is about the renewal of the motion to suspend the rules. So
Okay.
you might want to ask your parliamentarian about it, but Mr. Mulvin is absolutely correct. He can make this motion if it's seconded.
Yes. And I ruled that it's dilatory. And there we are.
$30.
30 seconds left. We're doing 90 seconds. If you'd like to vote on whether the ruling of the chair should be sustained, a yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair, a no vote overturns it. There are 15 seconds left. For the information of those people who are curious, when we got to 1 minute and 30 seconds, we have 779 of roughly 957 participants participated. So 573 yes, 174 no. The ruling of the chair is sustained. The motion is dilatory and out of order. I'm going to recognize Arizona Delegate John Buttrick.
Please repeat the numbers, Mr. Chair.
Ms. DeSisto, if you can pop them back up again, just so I can repeat them again. 573, 174, 32 abstain. Arizona Delegate John Buttrick has a motion to suspend the rules. Judge Buttrick.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I have a motion to suspend the rules to allow, to put into nomination for vice president Mr. Sharp and Mr. Sarwark, who fell just short of the 30 vote minimum. I think it would be helpful to have those choices.
Let me provide you a bit of information, Mr. Buttrick. I believe that Mr. Sharp indicated he would decline a vice presidential nomination yesterday. I believe he did that publicly. If Mr. Sharp is available and can confirm or deny, that would be helpful.
I just confirmed.
You can confirm what, Mr. Sharp?
What you said, I would deny.
You will not accept a nomination.
That is correct.
Judge Buttrick, would you like to amend your motion to suspend the rules to not include Mr. Sharp?
I would, and I would omit Mr. Sharp simply to add Mr. Sarwark.
Okay. Is there a second for that? There's a second. The motion to suspend the rules is not debatable. We will move to a vote on the motion to suspend the rules to add Nicholas Sarwark as a nominee for vice president. We can do a poll. It will require 2/3. And Ms. Harlos, if you can remove Sharp from the minutes there, because he amended it before he made the motion.
Mr. Chair, request for information, please.
Who is that?
Joe Pascal.
Mr. Pascal, for what are you?
It's really for Mr. Fishman. I texted him quite a few times. I've got a delegate that did not get a link that needs the Zoom link. And I just need to make sure he did in fact get it and we can get that resolved, please.
Okay. Keep working with Mr. Fishman on that, please. The motion to suspend the rules is out. It requires 2/3 to suspend the rules in that manner. There is a request from information from Colorado Delegate Mark Montoni as to whether or not I would accept the nomination. I would accept a nomination. I have not heard from the candidate regarding this issue, so don't know.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes, the point of order.
30 seconds.
There is a,
Who's raising the point of order?
sorry, this is Sean Thornton, South Carolina.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
There's a point of information further up in the Q&A that hasn't been addressed yet. It's from South Carolina Delegate Matthew Hicks.
Oh, gosh. I can recognize Mr. Hicks. What is his request for information?
I don't know. He just said point of information in there.
Well, requests for information are not normally privileged, but Mr. Hicks, go ahead. What is your request for information?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. In the main hope of speeding this process up a little bit, would it be correct to say that were Mr. Molman's motion to pass, then we could have en masse disposed of all of these points of, or these motions to suspend the rules?
No, it is not, because it's...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. With regard to the suspension of the rules to allow my name to be placed in nomination, there are 221 votes yes, 565 no, and 13 abstentions. That suspension of the rules does not pass, and I will not be eligible to be nominated.
Mr. Sarwark, Stephen and Kayla would like to be added to the queue.
Is this a suspension of the rules?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Missouri Delegate Tiefenthaler would like to be recognized to move to suspend the rules.
Hello, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and add both John McAfee and Zoltan Isvan to the vice presidential ballot.
Mr. Tiefenthaler, I'm going to rule that dilatory. I don't think that suspension is going to pass. And I think that we're just wasting time now.
Okay.
There's a point of personal privilege from Colorado Delegate Mark Montoni. We'd like it noted in the minutes that Mr. Sarwark was allowed to dodge the bullet with the help of his fellow members. There's a point of order from California Delegate Aaron Starr. Go ahead, Mr. Starr. What's your point of order?
And my point of order is that you really need to rule consistently. On the one hand, you had allowed a motion to suspend the rules to accept your own nomination, but you wouldn't allow a motion to suspend the rules to accept possibly other nominations. You really need to be more even-handed here. That's my request. You shouldn't be using your judgment as to whether it'll be adopted by the body. The body needs to make that decision. It's not your decision to make. It's the body's decision to make. So please be consistent.
Is that a point of order, Mr. Starr?
Yes, because you are allowing some people to suspend the rules for candidates and you're declaring it dilatory for some, but not dilatory for others. You
If the secretary could please scroll up to the tokens for the edification of Mr. Starr. Mr. Starr, if you look at Mr. Istvan's tokens that he received 7.
That's right, and you received just 20.
Mr. Starr, if you look at Mr. McAfee's, he received 6. If you look at mine, I received 20. The suspension of the rules for my nomination went down in flames.
Exactly.
With significantly more tokens. Do you understand the consistency of my ruling now?
No, because originally you dismissed an attempt to put McAfee on, but you allowed yours. So you're not being consistent. So please just be consistent. You need to be even-handed with the delegates.
Mr. Starr, your point of order is not well taken.
Thank you. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm going to rule that the motion to suspend for Zoltan Isfin is dilatory. There has been a request from California Delegate Ted Brown for orders of the day to move into the nomination speeches. Nominations will be closed. We will move on to orders of the day. Do we have a randomizer? Ms. Harlos, did you get a die, or should we go to Ms. Matson for the...
No, I will have a die for the physical convention. This honor belongs to Ms. Matson.
Okay, Ms. Matson, if you are available and have your die. And Ms. Harlos, if you can scroll back up to the people who are eligible.
I will.
All right, Ms. Matson, are you ready? I'm going to go in order by highest number of, actually, I'll just do it alphabetical. So Ms. Matson, we'll start with Mr. Armstrong.
The die has spoken. It is 11.
Mr. Armstrong rolls an 11. Mr. Cohen.
The die says 13.
Cohen got 13. Mr. Kokesh.
4.
Mr. Kokesh gets a 4. And Mr. Mons.
Mons also has a 4, so we'll have to break the tie between him and Mr. Kokesh when we're done.
Okay, we'll do Kokesh again.
All right, so tiebreaker, Kokesh and Mons. So the tiebreaker score for Kokesh is 16.
Okay.
And then tiebreaker for Mons is 7. So that would put Mons before Kokesh in that position.
Wait, is high roll wins the tie?
So if we start with low and go to high, so I'll tell you the way I typically do tiebreakers.
Sure.
I leave them in their original position, which would have been Kokesh and Mons first, but just between the two of them, Mons would precede Kokesh. So
Okay,
this would make it
that makes sense.
Mons and
So the order will
Kokesh,
be
followed by
Mons,
Armstrong and Cohen.
Kokesh, Armstrong, and Cohen. Is that right?
Yes.
Mons, Kokesh, Armstrong, and Cohen.
Yes.
All right, that will be the order. The speeches are 11 minutes. We can be...
Point of order from New York.
Who has the point of order? Mr. D'Orazio, yeah?
Mr. Armstrong is not a delegate and not a panelist, so he's going to need the Zoom links.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fishman, if you can work on that. All right, I'm just going to go through the Q&A really quick for anything privileged. There's a point of personal privilege from Nevada Delegate Louis Pombo. I believe I was approximately 6th or 7th in the queue as displayed about 10 minutes ago, and I don't know if Ms. Crawford has an old list displayed, but he'd like to be back in the queue. So Ms. Crawford, if that is the case, you can put Louis Pombo in. There's a point of order regarding having a speech from Joe Jorgensen first. That actually happens. Let's bring it up real quick. It is after nominations have been made, but before voting has begun. So we hear the nominating speeches first, then Dr. Jorgensen. There's a point of personal privilege from Thomas Hill, North Carolina delegate. Mr. Chair, I'd like for you to pay a tribute of honor to the remembrance of John Kramer of the Fox Valley Libertarians. We recently lost him to COVID-19. Thank you very much. I too knew John Kramer and will miss him dearly. There's a point of personal privilege. Can we ask those not speaking to be muted? It's unprofessional when you hear hot mics and laughter. The New Hampshire delegate, Justin O'Donnell, moves to suspend the privileges of California delegate Aaron Starr due to continued obstructionist and dilatory conduct. I will not entertain that motion at this time. There's a point of order from Mark Montoni. I don't believe it would have changed the result, but there was an issue to be considered that directly concerned me where I should have recused myself and turned the gavel over to the vice chair to forestall some unease. I understand the point of order about there being a vote that affected me directly. However, there was no debate on the vote. It was not a debatable motion. It was merely voting by polling. And so handing the gavel off when no business was actually happening would have had no effect. And that is the reason I did not do it.
Yeah. And Mr. Chairman, if I
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
could add to that as well.
Sure.
Over the last 2 days, I've seen to someone that is not necessary under Robert's rules. When the presiding officer is a candidate, you know, among others, he does not need to turn the chair over.
Thank you. There's a point of information from Michigan Delegate James Lewis. Will the presidential candidate be speaking before the voting? Yes, the presidential candidate will speak after the nominating speeches, but before balloting. There's a request for information from Utah Delegate Joseph Bookman. We've thanked the chair's wife for making his service as chair possible. Would it be appropriate to express profound gratitude toward each of his children and other family members? It is always appropriate to express gratitude toward my wife and kids. I try and do it every day. It's not necessary for all of you to do it, but I do appreciate the sentiment. We are now ready to go through the nominating speeches. There'll be 11 minutes each. Can I confirm that, Mr. Fishman, do you have Mr. Mons and any of his nominators available as panelists? And do we have Mr. Armstrong in? And can we get Kokesh and Cohen to be ready to be elevated to panelist?
I am working on that list right now, sir.
Okay, there's a clarification for the minutes for Ms. Harlos. It was a 20-sided die, not just a many-sided die. All right, so we need to get Mr. Mons in as a panelist. Can someone please elevate John Mons to panelist? Georgia Delegate John Mons. There is a point of information that there are apparently still California delegates who are unable to connect to their Zoom link. Mr. Fishman, if you could work on that as soon as we get Mr. Mons set up to start his speech. There's a point of personal privilege from Texas Delegate Jax Finkel. Jax Finkel, go ahead, Ms. Finkel. What is your point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Chair. I am next in line to speak. And before I do, I wanted to reach out to you and ask, we've heard a lot of people talking about expediting, trying to save time. And yesterday, Pat Dixon brought up approval voting, which, as you guys know, Texas has hundreds of people that participate in our state convention. And it has saved us many hours of this voting process. We voted for over 5 hours, I believe it was, yesterday. And so I want to create a motion that would suspend the rules to allow for approval voting for the VP so that we do not have to spend multiple hours on this nomination today. And I wanted to ask for your guidance on what would be the best way to do that when it comes to my turn in line.
So when it comes to your turn in line, after the nominating speeches, and after the the presidential nominee has the opportunity to speak, but immediately before voting would be the point at which you would make that motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you for that clarification. And I also wanted to know, I see that they're highlighting next to my name on the list. You just addressed my point of personal privilege, not the reason that my hand is in line for the speaker queue.
Okay. All right. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Harlos?
Some information that might be useful to Ms. Finkel. We have further automated the procedure, and there will not be these time lags for ballots to get out. The first round is ready to go at a push of a button.
Thank you. There are also New York delegates who are having some Zoom issues, as well as California delegates that are having some Zoom issues. So if Mr. Fishman can work on those at such point, after we have Mons. Mr. Mons, Mr. Mons, if you are there, can you indicate to us who your nominators are going to be and make sure we can get them in as panelists?
I will just be speaking myself.
Just yourself, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, who is that?
Mr. Sisto.
Go ahead.
Are we, 11 minutes is the time that we're keeping?
11 minutes is the time limit for nominating speeches. So yes, 11 minutes. Ms. Harlos, if you could stop sharing your screen.
Thank you.
And then Mr. Mons, if you are ready, I am ready. And I think the delegates are ready. So let me just pin and spotlight your video, and you are set. Go ahead, Mr. Mons, you have 11 minutes.
Thank you, delegates. I believe you understand where I fit on the issues, what I believe in through the many debates and visits to conventions. What I bring to the table is everything I've been talking about over the last few months. My position is this: if our nominee, Jo Jorgensen, would like to have me, I'd be glad to serve her. As your VP, my first question would be, Jo, what can I do for you? How can I help your campaign? So I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I appreciate the support I've gotten, and I would say good luck to all the candidates. Once again, it's incredible for anybody to want to run for office, and I'm just glad to be a part of this process, a part of this party, and look forward to the results. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Mons. I appreciate you not using all your time too. I'm sure the delegates do as well. All right, we will next move to, what was the order? Sorry, I told the secretary to stop sharing the screen, but now I can't see it. Ms. Harlos may have also taken a break.
Ed Armstrong.
Oh, Mr. Armstrong is next, is that right? Okay. No, Kokesh, Adam Kokesh. So if Mr. Kokesh has been made into a panelist, if he has not, we need to get that done. There he is. Mr. Kokesh, can you tell me, do you need anyone else, or are you just going to speak for yourself?
I'm just going to be speaking and playing a video with some other speakers very briefly.
Okay, and you've got that audio set up?
Yep, should be ready to start right now.
Okay, Mr. Kokesh, you go ahead.
Morning from beautiful California. I am Dr. Brent Olson, Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of California. Today it is my great pleasure to nominate one of my dearest friends, Adam Kokesh, for Vice President of the United States. He is one of the hardest working and most courageous activists I know in the Libertarian Party. He has been on the road fighting for our freedom across this country for the last 14 years. He is one of the few libertarians I know who is willing to put his own liberty on the line, defend and advocate for our freedom. He published a book, Freedom, with no intent of making money off of it, but instead to spread the voluntarist platform around the country.
Everyone, it's Myra Mateka with the Iowa delegation. I'd like to put my support behind Adam Kokesh. Adam has always been a very good friend and is in fact a lifetime member of our Health Nations, and he always
I believe Mr. Kokesh appears to have had some technical difficulties and become disconnected.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
I can, Mr. Kokesh.
Go ahead and the video. I apologize for the difficulties.
Go ahead. Gotta unmute it, Mr. Kokesh.
Doesn't say it's muted. The audio coming on the video now?
Mr. Chairman, how would you like me to deal with the matter of time?
Is there no audio still? Are you guys getting audio on the video?
It's frozen for me.
No, not working.
All right. Did everybody get the audio from those? Yes?
I don't
Can you
believe.
hear me now?
No.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right. In the interest of expediency, I'm just going to go ahead and skip through the video and say you would have heard wonderful nominating speeches from Brent Olson in California, Myra Mateshka, and Joseph Howe in Iowa, and I'm grateful to be nominated by them. I'm grateful to be able to address this body again. I think what I offer as a nominee for vice president is someone who's going to have the hustle to support Dr. Joe Jorgensen. I very much look forward to touring, to being a full-time team player for the Libertarian Party in 2020, to supporting Dr. Jorgensen's platform, her policy, her messaging. And for her ability to pragmatically appeal to people across the political spectrum. I look forward to supporting down ballot candidates, bringing my fundraising and media experience to this race, my social media platform. I think what we offer with Jorgensen Kokesh is an opportunity to have a balanced ticket and to unite the party. Now, when I was in Iraq, there was one incident where I got to okay, because that was the only thing that I could do. But he bled out after we dropped him off into the surgical tent. And I made the commitment at that point that I would never give people false hope. I would never lead people down a false path. I would tell it like it is, and I would do everything in my power to make sure that no Marine ever finds himself in that situation ever again. And I promise that as your nominee for vice president, I will not let you down in 2020. To Dr. Jo Jorgensen, or as Stuart Flood of North Carolina calls her, not your average Joe, it would be an honor to support you as your running mate and support you for your reelection in 2024. A vote for Adam Kokesh for vice president is a long-term investment in the party. I've got the commitment. I've demonstrated the hustle. I plan to be here for a long time, and I want to use this opportunity to build the party and build the movement. For the Mises Caucus, we still have a chance of getting a member on the ticket. For the Prags, we have a chance to bring a new message to the American people with a real dynamic team. For the Radicals, we have an opportunity to keep the message of principle front and center. And to everyone else, and Mr. Chair, please join me in making this an opportunity to unite the party, to unite the country, and to work together for our goals of a world set free in our lifetime by nominating Jorgensen Kokesh 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kokesh. All right, the next candidate for vice president is Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, let me just confirm with you. Mr. Armstrong, is it just going to be you, or are there other people going to be speaking for you, Mr. Armstrong?
We'll have other speakers.
Who are they, so they can be made into panelists?
Yes, Paige Sexton, Bennett Morris, Victoria Reynolds, and Larry Sharp.
One more time, Paige Sexton.
Bennett Morris.
Go ahead.
Victoria Reynolds.
1 second, Reynolds. I think Victoria Reynolds is already a panelist. And who was the other one?
Larry Sharp.
Sharp. And I believe he's also been made a panelist. All right, you guys, do you have your order? You know your order, and have all those people been made panelists? Let me just ask for video to start from some of them. All right, you guys know your order. You have 11 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Armstrong.
Hi again, everyone. Once again, I'm Paige Sexton, LNC Region 2 alternate. I was introduced to Ken Armstrong by a fellow LNC member. I was shown Ken's website and resume, and I was absolutely blown away. The sheer magnitude of what he has accomplished in one lifetime is more than what most people could accomplish in 5. He has been a NATO and UN advisor, international media coordinator, executive director of Hawaii's Habitat for Humanity. He has been elected onto the Honolulu County Neighborhood Board not once, but twice. And that is just a portion of what he has accomplished. He has had boots on the ground in a large portion of the United States this past year, actively campaigning not just to libertarians, but to the general public. Alongside his beautiful wife, Dawn, he has been able to reach thousands of potential voters and donors that could have us reach new heights and set new records. Ken is as bold and charismatic as his voice is booming. He has the ability to reach a wide range of voters from across the country. He will lead the efforts to abolish prohibition, abolish the income tax, and will use the free market to combat climate change. He will also be able to help us obtain 5%. I implore you to look further into Ken's platform and how he plans to end the empire at Armstrong 2020. Thank you, and I yield the remaining amount of my time to my colleagues.
Thank you, Paige. Hello, my name is Bennett Morris, and I'm the former chair of the Libertarian Party of Illinois and a member of the National Platform Committee. I'm also a lifetime member of both my state affiliate and national party, and if you have the means, I encourage you to become one as well. Vermin Supreme and Spike Cohen was my preferred ticket, but I knew that I would support Ken Armstrong if the presidential nomination didn't go my way. Ken's campaign was the first to contact me last year to ask about our state affiliate, active chapters, our state convention, and what matters to potential delegates in our state. He then scheduled several Illinois stops on his 51,000-mile campaign trail through 47 states. Ken sat down and shared his story with chapters small enough to meet in a corner booth at a diner to large local affiliates that fill an entire room. Moving forward, Ken will commit the same enthusiasm and work ethic toward sharing our principles and ideals of liberty outside the party, from the most powerful to the most ordinary, to those most harmed by the failures of the state. His extensive firsthand experience in foreign policy makes him a perfect fit for Dr. Joe Jorgensen's campaign by adding a credible, knowledgeable veteran to the ticket. He is perhaps the most emotionally intelligent candidate I've seen in the party. He asks questions and actively seeks feedback, positive or negative, from delegates who aren't even on his staff about how he can make his campaign even better. And I want someone like that supporting Dr. Joe Jorgensen throughout this campaign. I proudly nominate Ken Armstrong for Vice President of the United States of America, and I yield the rest of my time.
Good morning. I'm Victoria Reynolds, Chairman of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and I am honored to speak on Ken Armstrong's behalf. While I believe that Spike, John, and Adam would be exceptional candidates, it is Ken that brings with him that perfect combination of principles and pragmatism. Ken presents the radical libertarian message from a practical point of view. While his opponents would be good candidates, I believe Ken Armstrong would make an exceptional vice president. He has a proven track record. His experience gives him the knowledge to represent us and help our presidential nominee, Joe Jorgensen. It is his resume that gives credibility to the ticket with small L libertarians and independent voters. These are the reasons that I ask you to join me in voting for Ken Armstrong to be our next vice president. I yield the rest of my time.
Hey everybody, it is Larry Sharp. I don't know, can you guys see me now? There we go. It's Larry Sharp here, and I want to tell you there are several reasons why I'm behind a Jorgensen Armstrong ticket. The experience that Ken has is a perfect match for the experience that Dr. Joe has. They connect well, but not just that. He understands that this is support staff. The job is to support. He gets that. Not only that, he's the kind of person, as we heard earlier about emotional intelligence, who literally knows when things aren't going right and then begins to change them. He literally came to New York City to talk to me and sit in a diner with me and chat about what are our next steps? How do we make things happen? He picked up people from my team eventually when he saw it, he wanted to make changes. He made shifts to every part of the plan. He gets it. He is going to be the right person to talk to Dr. Joe and say, you know what, let's make a shift here, make a shift there. And if we need to, he'll be the one to go out there and make it happen. He'll be the one to make the changes that are required to make sure that we get her the best press, the best exposure, the best team that we can possibly put together. And on top of that, he has an amazing voice. Come on, you really can't beat that. He is without question the best choice for the VP that we have right now. Please support him as I am supporting him. Let's make a Jorgensen Armstrong ticket. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and delegates, and especially our nominee for President of the United States in 2020, the incredible Dr. Joe Jorgensen. It is with great pleasure that I rise to accept having my name placed in consideration for the nomination for Vice President of the United States. I can't believe that we're at this day after a year of hard campaigning on the road. Here we finally are, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank the many, many people who have been involved in lifting this campaign to this place, because we know that even though the candidate gets a great deal of the glory, the candidate is not what it's all about. It is the team and it is the principles that we represent. And I want to share with you that my vision is all about the future. We are not going to rest on the past. We've talked about my credentials and my past, and that's what gets us to the place to move into the future. So surrounding myself with this amazing team of individuals has been step one to moving into a future that puts our principles in first place in the United States, that conveys the message that Joe Jorgensen is the right person to take this nation out of the dark tunnel that the Republicans and Democrats have put it in, and take us onto a path that gives people freedom and liberty in our lifetime. Never before have we as libertarians had the moment and the opportunity that we have right now. And we have in Joe Jorgensen a candidate that we can get excited about. Picture Joe on the stage between Biden and Trump, and ask yourself who America is going to trust. That's an easy choice. And I implore you for the opportunity to campaign with her for the next 5 months as her running mate, to have the opportunity to give America the vision that Joe has articulated so well in the past nearly a year of campaigning, that we need to free up healthcare so that Americans can have access to healthcare. We need to end foreign wars of aggression and bring our people home. We need to get rid of the alphabet soup of government agencies that impose on our country and invade our privacy. We need to free up Americans to do business as they choose to do it. That government, instead of putting their boot on people's necks, as we're seeing today with this lockdown response, that the American people can have the information they need to make wise choices and to move forward in freedom and liberty. I believe Joe Jorgensen is the right candidate for America in this moment. I am excited to serve her no matter what happens by the time we go to sleep tonight. I'm excited about the opportunity to campaign for Joe Jorgensen this year. And I would be remiss if I didn't also point out that we have some amazing candidates in what we wrongly refer to as down ballot, because they are really above us. But we have candidates for Congress, for state legislature, for local county and city offices. We have we have candidates for all levels of service to the people. And as we go out and we campaign for Joe Jorgensen for President of the United States, we will also be energetically and aggressively campaigning for every one of those local candidates. In fact, folks, I've promised many of you endorsement videos. You can start contacting me tomorrow and I'll be happy to start recording those endorsement videos for you, and we will move on campaigning for the down ballot candidates. But it is with a great deal of pleasure and excitement that I accept having my name placed in nomination for Vice President of the United States. and I encourage the delegates to look at my track record, look at what this campaign has accomplished, look at the fabulous people who are surrounding me, and nominate me to help make Joe Jorgensen the 46th President of the United States. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong's name is placed in nomination. Before we move on to the next speaker, we believe is Mr. Cohen. Let's make sure Mr. Cohen is placed in as a panelist. I have a few points of personal privilege. There's a point of personal privilege from California Delegate Kenneth Olson, who wanted to request that he be given the opportunity to say what he was going to say in the video that didn't work because of technical difficulties. I am unable to honor that request because the time has already elapsed for that nomination speech and we will not be going back. I feel badly about the technical difficulties, but they have passed. I have a point of personal privilege, Florida Delegate Tony Sellers. If we could recognize Florida Delegate Tony Sellers. Go ahead, Mr. Sellers.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me. I would like to note the passing of Libertarian Tom Renier on April 14, 2020. Mr. Renier was key to securing ballot access for the Libertarian Party in Florida. An appeals attorney, a legal and Shakespearean scholar, and frequent speaker for libertarian groups in Florida, Mr. Renier will be remembered with fondness and distinction.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have Mr. Cohen in as a panelist? And I would ask people to turn off your video if you're not going to be presenting. Let's see, Mr. Cohen is there.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Is it just going to be you or are you going to have others?
No, it's going to be Tom Arnold, Kim Ruff, Brent DeRitter, and Anthony Welty.
Arnold, Ruff. I think she may already be a panelist. Who are the other ones?
Anthony Welty and Brent DeRitter.
Mr. DeRitter is in by phone, and I don't know if we can make him a panelist, but we may be able to make him be able to speak. All right, so he is able to speak. He just needs to keep himself muted until his time, but he cannot be made a panelist for video.
Right, yeah, no, he just needs the audio.
Okay, so he is talking permitted right now. You will have 11 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay, and we will start with Tom.
Okay, Mr. Arnold, let's just make sure your video's up.
Yeah, he's muted, but he's on.
We're working on it.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, delegates of the Libertarian Party, I rise here today to put in nomination a young man's name who has my heart as a Libertarian. Spike Cohen is no doubt carries with him the spirit of David Nolan. David Nolan was that person who said that what we need is principles, not platitudes. We need a radical libertarianism that promotes the primary issue of self-ownership. Spike Cohen is that person. Spike Cohen will add to this ticket with Dr. Jorgensen an immense pull with young people and folks outside the party because he is not afraid to speak to them on the issues that are important to them. That's why it is my great privilege to say that I 100% support Spike Cohen and would hope that the delegates will see that it's not always what a candidate wants, but it's the best ticket that is needed. I yield my time to Brent DeRitter.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Brent DeRitter, Libertarian activist and Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. If you know me, you've almost certainly heard me preach about our need to abandon reading lists and economic lessons as a form of outreach. You know, I believe we need to embrace proven sales and marketing tactics and offer real-life libertarian solutions to the real-life problems we face. We have to stop being the guy standing in the middle of the room screaming about being right and go to the business of showing it. That's why it is my honor to have the first time I address this body be to second the nomination of my good friend Spike Cohen. I can't imagine a candidate that lives those ideals better than Spike. A while ago, Spike joined us in Wilmington, North Carolina, to do door-to-door outreach in low-income and minority neighborhoods long ignored and forgotten by the duopoly. I was privileged to watch as Spike was celebrated at each doorstep as the first candidate of any type to care enough to tread there. The job of our top ticket candidates is to grow the party and sell our ideas to the masses. That's the job, and Spike's the man for that job. He exemplifies every day what it is to be a hardworking, principled, libertarian messenger. Now, I'm just a delegate like you. I'm nobody special. I'm just a busy activist living out in the middle of a swamp, which is why you can't see my face today. I just don't have the bandwidth. But as a busy libertarian activist, I'm looking for a candidate that makes my job easier. And it's my firm belief that if I could travel the country to handpick a candidate, nobody would fit that bill better than Spike. So I'm asking you all to recognize the gift we have in this activist and candidate today and join me in supporting him for vice president and anything else we're lucky enough to convince him to do for us. Thank you.
Esteemed delegates of the Libertarian Party, my name is Anthony Welty, a delegate from Washington. As a former Gary Johnson volunteer, as a county chair, a state party regional representative, and a candidate for state office, I'm proud to support Spike Cohen for our nominations for VP and hope you will help vote for him today as well. Spike has an energy about him and a passion for liberty that bleeds through every word he speaks. He is thoughtful with how he communicates, and most importantly, he listens. He listens to hear, not just respond. And he listens to hear people's pain points with the government so he can present our radical solutions to the government-manufactured issues we know that plague this nation. He considers the person he is talking with, and it comes with the most powerful message of liberty as possible while communicating with kindness in a way that they can relate to. Spike's ability to market and sell our brand is incredible for cross-ballot candidates and would be a great teammate for any candidate from president all the way down to dog catcher, even if he'd abolish the dog catcher position. Our party is full of incredible people, candidates, board members, sign waivers, phone bankers, and door knockers, and yes, even subculture keyboard warriors. Spike is a wonderful cheerleader for all of you, and I am honored to support him for our vice presidential position and as a great compliment to Dr. Joe Jorgensen so we can win in 2020. Thank you.
Good morning, fellow Liberty lovers. My name is Kim Ruff. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I've been an activist and party member for the past 11 years, most recently contributing as a prospective presidential candidate myself. When my running mate, John Phillips Jr. and I embarked on our campaign, we did so with several specific goals in mind: to energize and galvanize our base, as our success as a party and a movement depends almost exclusively on local and state activists to do the heavy lifting, and to educate and empower the electorate so that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to successfully fight back against the state. Our methods were simple. We don't eat our own, we don't water down our message or shy away from tough questions, and most importantly, we honor ourselves in the movement by being unabashedly, unapologetically, our perfectly imperfect libertarian selves. When due to circumstances completely independent of our campaign, John and I both decided to step out of the race, our personal heartbreak was tempered by the knowledge that Spike Cohen was in. He is the embodiment of the principles that our party was founded on. He groks libertarianism so completely, he understands the second half of self-ownership, his personal responsibility. He rightly recognizes the only ethical society is one absent force and fraud, that our goal is to see liberty in our lifetimes, and he is able to articulate all of that and more, flawlessly and fearlessly, with good humor, kindness, compassion, and a genuine respect for his fellow man. I cannot say enough good things about Spike and why he's the type of candidate we should all be. If I had an hour, I'd take a stab at it. But we don't, so instead I will simply say this. To know Spike Cohen is to love and to respect him. To hear him is to be inspired. And to see him in action is to be empowered. Without further ado, Spike Cohen.
Thank you, Kim, Brent, and Tom, and Anthony. First of all, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate Jo Jorgensen on her hard-fought victory for the Libertarian Party nomination. Congratulations, Jo. You did a great job. You will serve us very well. I'd also like to thank my dear friend and former running mate, Vermin Supreme, for working so hard to spread our message and grow the Libertarian Party, and for inspiring me to enter this race. Thank you, Vermin. Now, for those who still don't know me, I'm Spike Cohen. I'm a business owner who started a web design company back in 1999, and 3 years ago, I sold that company so I could focus my life on my real passion, sharing the libertarian message to a public that often hasn't heard of things like self-ownership, non-aggression, voluntary solutions. I'm now the co-owner of Muddy Waters Media, a libertarian media outlet that has followers in the tens of thousands and a reach in the millions across all social media and podcasting platforms. I also host and produce 2 live programs on Muddy Waters, and in doing that and interacting with countless people over these years, I've come to realize that in order for the Libertarian Party to beat the Republicrats and begin to make changes at the political level by winning statewide and federal elections, as well as many more local and regional elections, we need to be able to change the public conversation so we can move the needle in the direction of liberty at the cultural level. We can only make changes if we get elected. We can only get elected if we get people to know who we are and what solutions we propose. And we can only get people to know us by engaging them where they are. Folks, I have 2 questions for all of you. Do you want to be free? Not just you, but your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, and everyone else. And do you think we're headed in that direction? I know I want to be free. I want all of us to be free. And we all know for damn sure that we aren't headed in that direction. Many of us are still in a state-enforced lockdown because the government refused to allow medical professionals to contain a virus months ago, back when that was possible. We are living in a dystopia that is almost entirely a consequence of bad central planning, which is entirely the fault of the duopoly. Something has to change. And who better than us to be the agents of that change? Who better than us to change the culture with our message of ending the wars overseas and the war on drugs, stopping the harm that is being done by the cult of the omnipotent state and dismantling these oppressive, tyrannical structures so that we can work together to solve our problems, so that we can heal. We have a tremendous opportunity where the Republicrats have completely overplayed their hands by presenting Donald Trump and Joe Biden as their candidates to wake this country up to how much better things could be. Guys, in the 6 months that I've been running for the VP nomination, I have traveled across the country to various state Libertarian Party conventions to speak with and listen to our delegates and to help raise money for local and state affiliates. I've gone to Republican campaign events and successfully converted their supporters to our side. I've organized and participated in door-knocking tours in housing projects and marginalized communities, as well as college events to help grow local and campus LP affiliates, promote local down-ballot candidates, and change the conversations in those neighborhoods and campuses. Even during these lockdowns, I've continued to do online campus events that have been wildly successful. In each of these events, I have converted dozens and sometimes hundreds of people to the Libertarian Party and used the sales and communication skills I learned from owning and operating a successful business for nearly 20 years to listen to people's concerns, identify their problems, and communicate the Libertarian solution to these problems. We've also rolled out our new candidate resource site, disruptthevote.com, that is giving Libertarian down-ballot candidates access to our team's press network, help with filing reports, social media promotion, training sessions, and much more. The role of vice president and of a vice presidential candidate is largely twofold: advising the president on matters of policy and strategy, and using the bully pulpit to promote our belief and ideas. I will use that bully pulpit to draw a clear line in the sand. On one side, those of us who want to remove the boot from the necks of the people so that we can work together to solve the problems they face, which are often either caused or made worse by government. And on the other side are those that would keep that boot on the people's necks and allow continued unnecessary suffering for no other reason than to preserve their power and unearned wealth. The person that the Libertarian Party chooses for that role needs to be able to clearly, kindly, and dynamically promote our beliefs, our platform, and our solutions to the public so that we can grow our party and spread our ideas into the public consciousness. I believe I am that person. And with your nomination, I will continue to work to grow this party from the ground up venture into spaces that often haven't heard the libertarian message but need it the most, leverage social media to get unprecedented attention and votes for our party from the top of the ballot all the way down, and awaken the public to the most inspiring message of all, the libertarian message. You own yourself, your life, your body,
Chairman.
your labor,
Your
and
time is done, Mr.
we will
Cohen.
stand with you and fight against anyone who tries to harm you. Now let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen's name is placed in nomination. That concludes nominating speeches. We will next hear from Dr. Jorgensen, who will have 5 minutes to address the delegation. Before we do that, I just want to pass on from the Credentials Committee. Dan Fishman's closing the line for voting in Zoom. Please no more delegate alternate swaps. And Susan Hogarth indicates that you should not use the text swap method to change out delegates for alternates. Track internal to your state and vote as required. Record the votes as required. Let's make sure that Dr. Jorgensen is available. She is a panelist. Dr. Jorgensen, if you are ready, we will give you your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Nick. And hello, delegates. First, I'd like to mention I'm deeply honored that you chose me to be our party's presidential nominee. Thank you. As for the VP nomination, well, there are a lot of great candidates, and I will be happy to serve with whoever the delegates choose. I leave it up to the good choice of the delegates. I would like to make just a few comments, though. As many of you know, Spike is a fellow South Carolinian. South Carolina was critical in the freedom fight more than 200 years ago, so if you need something done, I guess you can go to a South Carolinian. And after all, you went to me last night, which again, I really appreciate. I am a very loyal person. I would like again to say I am so grateful that the Pragmatic Caucus endorsed me. So I am going to pass along that the Pragmatic Caucus did nominate Ken Armstrong, or did endorse him rather. So if you're looking for a pragmatic nominee, he was their choice, at least for the vice presidential vote. Kokesh, I was on the campaign trail, and I realize I'm giving last names here sometimes. That's kind of how we would refer to each other on the campaign trail. I was in many, many debates with Adam Kokesh, and he is an excellent speaker. And I can't tell you how many times people would come up to me and say, gosh, I really like your ideas. Adam, he's really a ball of energy, isn't he? So I know that he would be a great speaker, a great communicator for the Libertarian Party. And then last, I'd like to mention John Mons. First of all, in the Pragmatic Caucus vote, John Mons actually was second to me for the number of votes. So I need to mention that, yes, the Pragmatic Caucus was impressed with John Mons. I feel he's a very practical person. And like me, he also received a B rating in the Radical Caucus, which I think is really a strong message that John, like me, is both principled and practical. Now, in the debate on Thursday, we were asked by John Stossel who we were planning on voting for if we did not get the nomination. And I said that I would vote for John Mons. Well, that is still true today. As John said about me, nothing has changed. So nothing has changed since the Thursday debate. I will echo his words. And in the vice presidential nomination, that is who I will be voting for. However, I leave it up to you. And again, I appreciate so much everything the delegates have done. I've got a lot more to share with you, but I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jorgensen. Let me just get my video back. Thank you very much. And with that, we will move to the voting for the first ballot for vice president. I believe there was going to be a motion from Texas delegate Jax Finkel. Ms. Finkel, I believe you were seeking to be recognized.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I was. And I won't repeat what I said earlier.
people already kind of understand the argument for approval voting. We have four VP candidates to get through. We had 6 candidates last night. It took about 4 to 5 hours. I appreciate that Karen Ann is working hard with the team, but it still may take some extra time today. So therefore, I move to suspend Rule 7.2 to use approval voting for the nomination of President and Vice President, requiring greater than 50%. If no candidate gets over 50%, utilize the same procedure for striking from ballot as in 7.2. I hope that the body will support this motion so that we can use this system, which also might be helpful for the second sitting of the convention. Thank you. I will send my text of my motion in the Q&A.
No, I don't want to do approval voting. It's
Mr.
horrible.
Chair,
Yeah, some people have mics up. Ms. Harlos, yes?
the ballot tally sheets have been in the hands of the delegation chairs for 15 minutes now.
That's fine.
Just letting you know.
That's fine. So the suspension of the rules has been moved to use approval voting for the nomination. I think it's only appropriate to be for vice president since president's already done. We will move
Apologies, yes.
a vote. We'll move to a vote on the suspension of the rules to use approval voting. It will require 2/3. All in favor of
Jovi's husband just sent me a text saying, I love you with a smiley face.
Ms. Galvin, you might want to mute yourself. All right, so we will move to a suspension of the rules for vice president. It has been noted that this was done for president and did not pass yesterday. That is true, but vice president is different.
Mr. Chairman, did we have a second so I can launch?
We did have a second, sorry. All right, the motion to suspend the rules to use approval voting is up. A yes vote would suspend the rules, a no vote will not. We'll have 90 seconds for this vote. You have roughly 75 of those seconds left. We already have more than half of the people voting. You guys are getting good at this polling thing. I will. All right, we have 1 minute left on the poll.
I bet it's going to be.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Stempfel, what can I do for you?
I just wanted to let everyone know that the election buddy email went out to the Michigan delegation. It should not have. We're using an internal poll, so I wonder if that went out to everybody. But if you're a Michigan delegate, please do not reply to the election buddy email.
I apologize for that.
Michigan delegates are advised not to use election buddy. All right, we are almost at 90 seconds. For the suspension of the rules to use approval voting, 189 yes, 676 no, 23 abstain. The suspension of the rules does not pass, that not making 2/3. I believe we are now prepared to move to the balloting, unless there are any other privilege motions. But I don't think there's many things that could happen right now that anyone would want to have happen other than moving to the balloting. So we will move to the balloting for vice president, the first round. The ballots, the tally sheet should be in the delegation chairs. We will move to a vote. We are at 12:20 Austin time. We will check on the status of the vote at 12:35 Austin time.
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege.
Personal privilege from Delegate Ahmad from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, the new forms are of a different format than yesterday, and I am having trouble figuring out how to actually fill them in.
Okay. Ms. Harlos, who would Dr. Ahmad confer with?
He would confer with Data Logan,
Okay.
and I will alert Data as well, but I believe the forms are the same, but we'll work on that with Data.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will be at ease until 12:35 Central Time. Mr. Fishman, how long are you intending to keep the election buddy open? Mr. Fishman.
Sorry, muted. 20 minutes?
Well, I was going to check in on this vote after 15 since the tally sheets are already out.
15 seems reasonable to me.
So I would suggest that we have it be, I mean, I was going to check on the vote at 12:35. So
10 minutes is reasonable to me.
10 minutes seems reasonable to me too. It seems like the election buddies have been going pretty well. You may want to confirm with the state delegation chairs, but I would recommend 12:30 Central Time be a good time to close that election buddy.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Harlos, go ahead.
My vote tellers wanted me to inform the delegation chairs that the only difference is that there's a blank for the state and they need to fill in their state.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are at ease until 12:35 Central Time.
Mr. Chairman.
Who is that? Mr. Oakes.
Thank you, sir. Please forgive my lapse in memory here. This is actually a request for Mr. Harris. I know he told me where to go to get one of those snazzy Joe Jorgensen for President signs yesterday, but could he please remind me how to get one of those beautiful 12 by 24 yard signs?
Mr. Harris, could you help with that? We're all getting a little punchy.
I could. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Oakes. Anybody looking for one of those really beautiful Joe Jorgensen for President yard signs can find them at lpstore.org. I've also seen links shared amply around social media, for which we are grateful. lpstore.org, of course, is the storefront of the National Libertarian Party and the place to go for those yard signs and all your libertarian gear. Little pro tip that might help some folks out. lpstore.org/new will automatically take you to a list of our newest products. So it's a great way to find those very new yard signs, as well as any other new materials as they come out in the weeks and months ahead.
lpstore.org. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I appreciate the reminder on that.
You're most welcome.
The New York delegation has raised an issue of they have not received their VP email yet. And so I will leave that to the delegation chair to figure that out.
You should have it in a minute, and if they don't, let me know directly. You guys have my number.
Okay. We are at ease. I am going to step away from my computer, and we will be back at 12:35.
Well, the chair did say that when we were in an at-ease period that I could pimp Elpedia a little bit. So while you guys are voting, if you're not familiar with the Libertarian Party Historical Preservation Project, we've been trying to recover our past 50 years history as we were in danger of losing it. And there is a warehouse full of records here in Colorado that we're working on scanning. All the money we spend on that, we raise ourselves. So if you're interested in helping to contribute to that project, please get in touch with me. But more importantly, if you go to lpedia.org, that is a wiki that we use for the historical project. And the only way the data in there is good is if the people, the community, make sure it's good. It's just like Wikipedia, but it's for only the Libertarian Party. And unlike Wikipedia, you can write your own article about yourself. We don't have hoity-toity, what they call it, notability requirements. If you were a libertarian for 1 second last year, you're notable. So you can go and fill in your information. But as we head into election season, the media is really using Elpedia, and it will be egg on our face if the state party information is not up to date. And most states are not up to date. So I'd ask each state to get someone who likes to do that sort of thing, have them sign up for an account on Elpedia and update your state pages and for the volunteers for Joe's campaign to make sure she has a beautiful page on there. And anything else you might want to add, you can get in touch with me for more assistance. But again, that is lpedia.org, and it's maintained by the Historical Preservation Committee, which I am honored to chair this term. An email to reach me is secretary@lp.org, and I appreciate everyone furiously going over there, getting accounts and updating Lpedia. This is the storehouse of our history. Thank you.
And while we are at rest, I would just like to take the opportunity to let you know if securing 50-state ballot access is a priority for you as a Libertarian for Dr. Jorgensen and whoever the vice presidential nominee is to be, then please go to lp.org/ballot access and help us meet our $15,000 match that is currently in play. We are very, very close. We are over 13,000 at this point. We need 15,000 to match. We would love it if you could throw your contribution that way so that we can fight these legal battles across the country and secure that ballot access. Thank you so much.
Hey, Karen Ann. This is Archie Flower in Vermont. I have a quick question.
Certainly.
Do you have any decent approximate estimation of how many documents you're looking at scanning?
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Are you volunteering? We take all volunteers.
I will be emailing you to have a discussion about this in more detail. I would not be able to come out to Colorado to do physical scanning, though.
It does not require that. If people are willing to scan quantities of documents, I will get you the documents. We're trying to save as much money as possible, so volunteers are always more than gratefully received. And some more exciting news on that front is what is being scanned this year is David Nolan's widow, Elizabeth Nolan, had kindly given us all of his archives. So we do have 12 boxes of David Nolan's records that will be scanned this year. A great deal has been scanned already, and we not only have records, we have old videotapes. There's some wonderful tapes of Harry Brown and candidates from years ago. Every single issue of LP News from LP News #1 is scanned and up on Lpedia, as well as almost through Current Liberty Pledge. So there is all kinds of treasures up there, and every day we add more.
Awesome. Thank you. I will be in touch about it.
All right, we are at ease, but there's some important things in the Q&A. First of all, there's a request for information from Kentucky Delegate Ken Molman. How would somebody get information or make a donation either by phone or online? I would recommend using 1-800-ELECT-US by phone or visit lp.org/join online. Thank you for that question, Mr. Molman. There's another question from New York Delegate Paul Sechrist. He asks, if one wants to support financially, volunteering, etc., the campaign of Joe Jorgensen, what website would one go to? That website is joj2020.com, joj2020.com. Thank you, Mr. Sechrist. It's a point of personal privilege that Lpedia is down now.
Everyone must be hitting it at once. I'll check on that. Thank you.
There is a request for information from Ohio Delegate Homer Taft. Are we all that libertarian? We are. Rest in peace, Dr. Feldman. There's a request for information from Utah Delegate Joseph Buchman. Mr. Chair, how does one become a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party? And can, for example, a loving father give such a gift to a liberty-loving child? As in my experience, all children love both their mothers, fathers, and liberty. One becomes a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party by contributing over $1,500 over the course of 12 months. And that can be done as a gift. The lifetime membership can be put in someone else's name as long as the financial contribution is appropriately tracked for FEC purposes. lp.org/join or lp.org/donate would be great places to do that. There's a
Mr. Chair, I want to announce we're going to close the voting in 1 more minute.
Okay. Election buddy voting will be closed in 1 minute. There's a request for information from New Hampshire Delegate Justin O'Donnell, because Ms. DeSisto informed the delegation of how they could donate to the party today and become a lifetime member. Ms. DeSisto, are you available for that?
Yes, sir, I am.
How would one do that? And has anyone else done that over the course of this convention?
Oh, yes, yes. Actually, there have been quite a few lifetime members that have recently signed on, including Robert Stock in Oklahoma, Chris Gray in Alabama, Justin O'Donnell in New Hampshire, and Lee Karotzer in Florida. Karotzer, I believe that's how you pronounce that. Hopefully I'm right. If you go to our website, lp.org, you will see lp.org/lifetime, you will see an opportunity to earn one of those snazzy pins that our chairman is rocking today, lifetime pin, if you too become a lifetime member of the party. Again, that's lp.org/lifetime. In order to become a lifetime member, you do need to make a $1,500 contribution in a 12-month calendar year. But you can spread that out over time with a monthly pledge. And so we look forward to building our lifetime membership this year as we advance to electing the first female president of the United States of America.
Thank you, Ms. DeSisto. There's a request for information from Michigan Delegate Alexandra Avery. Is taxation the price we pay for living in a civilized society? No, taxation is the price we pay for failing to live in a civilized society. There is a request for information from Ohio Delegate Helen Gilson. Mr. Chair, I met my husband on a website. Can you please tell me the name of the place I met my husband? As much as I appreciate all types of relationships, I was not there when you met your husband, although it sounds like it would be fun. So I'm not sure I can tell you, Ms. Gilson. Colorado Delegate Mark Montoni has a request for information. Mr. Chair, does the LP have a budget line for contributions routed through the Libertarian Party that are targeted to the presidential campaign or any other Libertarian Party campaigns? Mr. Montoni, I'm happy to answer that question. Fun fact, the Federal Election Commission limits donations for an individual to a presidential campaign. Hard money donations are limited to $2,800 per individual or $5,600 per couple. Contributions to the Libertarian National Committee are limited by the political party cap, which is $35,500 per individual in a year. So if a person would like to support Libertarian candidates, presidential or otherwise, above and beyond the federal maximum, they can give up to $35,500 to the Libertarian Party and indicate on their donation that they want that to go to candidate support, and we will do our best to honor that. And parties are allowed to coordinate with candidates, and good parties like ours do.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Chair.
I I will get to you, Mr. Flower. I have a point of personal privilege really quick. There's a point of personal privilege from New Hampshire Delegate Daryl Perry. If one does not want to assist, at buynickabeer.com for supporting the chair's sanity. I'd appreciate if delegates could make a donation to my New Hampshire gubernatorial campaign, which is about access race. I will thank Mr. Perry for his point of personal privilege so that that link will be available in the answered questions. Now, Mr. Flower, what is it I can do for you?
So I heard you say the maximum for an individual, and I heard you say what the national LP can donate to a candidate. How much could an affiliate donate?
So affiliate parties and their contributions to candidates, they are, I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to look it up, or one of my FEC friends will figure it out. There is an amount because there's a joint fundraising committee that can be formed. And what you use is basically the state caps. I want to say it's 10 grand a state, but it may have been adjusted.
Thank you.
The
You're
chair
welcome.
is correct.
Is it 10 grand a state? Good.
Yes.
Man, I'm good at this stuff. It's almost like I've done it. All right, we are at 12:37 Central Time. My apologies for being late. I was busy answering important requests for information. Ms. Harlos, where are we at with the tallying?
One moment, I'll check with my tellers. Okay, I'm told that we're about halfway through.
Do we have a time estimate?
I'm asking for that. And they tell me not all the states have turned in. I'm asking which states.
Okay. While you get that information, I'm going to answer Nevada Delegate Tim Hagan's request for information. Can people get a membership for their pets at lp.org/auxiliary membership? Yes, they can, and they should. Go ahead, Ms. Harlos, if you have the states that we need to submit.
I don't have all of them yet, but I can start naming some of them. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. I'm just going to keep on unmute. I'm waiting for them to report to me.
Okay.
Tennessee delegation here. Should we have the election buddy results at this point? Because I do not have them.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
If you could resend that to me, Mr. Fishman, that'd be much appreciated. I do not.
I thought you said to send it to Mr. Sexton.
Yeah, that was going to be a changeover that happened immediately after this ballot, but I will get with Mr. Sexton.
To you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We need, Maine's form is blank, so they need to resubmit. We need California, Colorado, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, Ohio.
I'm sorry, Ms. Secretary, Stephen Nickell here. What is this for?
This is the completed ballot tally sheets to be uploaded to the drive and emailed.
Huh, okay, I could have sworn that should have gone out. I'll get back with you on that.
Okay. All right, well, so are we thinking that probably at another 10 minutes we should check back? Is that sound right?
Check back with me in 10 minutes.
Okay, we will be at ease until 12:50 Boston time. There's a couple more requests for information. Colorado Delegate Mark Montoni asks, is the background you are using available for others to download and use in their Zoom window? It is. It was developed, I want to make sure I give credit. Drew Bisson of Indiana developed it. And I will put the link to the Google Photos in the answer in Q&A for anyone else who wants to use the background. It is very nice.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. DeSisto?
I just want to let the body know that I put all contribution limits into the Slack general channel for their viewing, should they like to see that.
Okay. There is a point of personal privilege from Texas Delegate Elliot Sherman. He wants everyone to know that anyone who wants to put a stop to the notorious eye-patched Texas congressman who supports red flag laws can donate to Houston's Libertarian nominee and national delegate Elliot Shearman at shearmanforcongress.com/donate. I will thank him for that point of personal privilege so that the link is there in the answered questions.
Mr. Chair, Ohio still has not received the election results for the election buddy results for vice president.
Okay.
I will send them. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Fishman. There's a point of personal privilege.
Mr. Thomas, if you could check, I do show that it went to you. It's a Gmail link. It's a G-document link.
All right, there's South Carolina Delegate Matthew Hicks as a point of personal privilege. Mr. Hicks.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clear up any confusion for any of the delegates. Perhaps it might not have been clear in the nominating speeches. Spike Cohen was actually endorsed by the Radical Caucus, which one could easily presume results in an A rating from them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege from Oklahoma Delegate Chad Williams. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to point out that Todd Hagopian, the delegate from Oklahoma, is running a statewide campaign head-to-head with the Republican, where he will secure Oklahoma ballot access through 2024. He will likely set a third-party vote record for Oklahoma and has seized the anti-corruption mantle in his campaign, which gives him a legitimate shot at winning this race. For more information or to help support his campaign, please visit toddhagopian.com. That is TODDHAGOPIAN.com. Look him up at Libertarian in Chief on Twitter or on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey,
Mr.
Stephen, I'll send you the breakdown when I get to it, okay?
Good luck to Mr. Hagopian, and Mr. Fishman, your mic is hot. And now it's not. Nebraska Delegate David Pratt Demarest has a request for information. Can those who purchased tickets and made a welcoming committee donation for the Austin convention and are unable to attend the Orlando convention due to COVID-19 concerns donate said funds to the Libertarian Party? Absolutely. We are happy to provide refunds to people who need them or want them with no questions asked, but we're also happy to redirect any requested refunds for the Austin convention to other Libertarian Party work at the discretion of the people who originally donated them. There's a request for information from Texas Delegate Eric Van Single. Would it be in order to ask the body to observe a 30-second moment of silence while we wait between ballots? Considering the Memorial Day weekend, I'd ask the delegates to use this time to reflect on a method of their choosing on and respect all the souls lost in unconstitutional, immoral, and frankly evil pursuits of rich men around the globe. It seems appropriate, and we will take a 1-minute moment of silence starting now. Thank you for that moment of silence. New York Delegate Carrie Bittner has a request for information. Does the chair know if every New Yorker watching and participating had taken the important, free, quick, and very visible step of changing their party on their New York voter registration form to Libertarian? Voters no longer need to choose other and then spell out Libertarian. It has its own beautiful, easy checkbox now. It takes 2 minutes to change online at the New York DMV site. Search voter registration online, New York DMV. That's excellent information for our New Yorker friends. It's time to change your registration. There's a request for inquiry from Pennsylvania Delegate Samuel Robb. Do contributions allocated for candidate support made to the Libertarian Party count as contributions for purposes of obtaining a lifetime membership? They do. It's a bonus. If you give more than $1,500 to the Libertarian Party, designating it for candidate support, you also get a shiny pin. Do it today. The Alaska delegate Joshua McHose has the FEC limits linked. There is a request for information from New Hampshire delegate Andrew Olding. If a person wanted to support the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire's ballot access candidates, could they donate at o'donnell2020.com/donate and darylwperry.com/donate? Yes, they could. New Hampshire has 2 shots at winning back party recognition status. One of them is our gubernatorial candidate and one of them is our senatorial candidate, both of whom are accepting donations. And if either of them get over 4%, we will again be a recognized party. There is a request of information from Louisiana delegate Daniel Hayes. There are people watching in Louisiana that are not registered libertarians. They should re-register now and can do that at govote.com. That's go in Louisianan spelling, G-E-A-U-X, vote.com. Thank you.
I take it maybe that was directed toward my dog.
All right. I think that is everything I had in the Q&A that was interruptible. We are going to be at ease for another 3 minutes, and then we will check in on the tallying.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Ms. DeSisto.
would you mind if, while we were at ease, I ran some simple polls to gather some information from our delegates?
That's fine with me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I wanted to notify the election buddy states that I reposted results with their write-ins.
Dan, I'm sorry, what do you mean? Are we supposed to send you our write-ins? I thought we just put those
No,
on the
no,
desk.
no. The first result sheet that I sent around to you, I did not.
Oh, write-ins. I'm sorry,
Write-ins,
never
yes,
mind.
yes,
Yes, I don't think my delegation had any. Okay, never mind,
North
sorry.
Carolina did not have any.
Panicking.
Mr. Chair, did we lose Did we lose Nick? I don't know. Dan, are you still here?
I am.
Can you promote David Sexton to panelist and remove me as delegation chair for Tennessee?
I will.
I have returned. We are at 10 minutes until the hour, and I will inquire of Ms. Harlos, where are we at with the tallying?
Stephen,
One moment. I am asking with my my tellers here.
Stephen Nikela here. Point of order or point of personal privilege for Dan. I'm waiting on that full,
Individual breakdown. Got it.
You got it. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to name off states that aren't in the in the spreadsheet yet. They may or may not have sent in their sheets, and the tellers might be working on it. But I just want to let you know which ones haven't been inputted, so those states know whether they sent it or not. California, Florida, Hawaii. Mr. Longstreth is working with the state chair on that. Louisiana, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania just came in. And those are the ones we're waiting on. Either the sheets are getting inputted.
Okay. There is a point of personal privilege from Oklahoma Delegate Aaron Adams that it's difficult for those acting as tellers to participate in polls and votes during tallying. So if we can suspend with the polls for a minute, Ms. DeSisto. There is a request for information. Where can one become a sustaining member of the Libertarian Party to assist with things like ballot access, candidate support, paying our headquarters mortgage, or supporting a wonderful and hardworking staff? Is there a website or phone number that people can use? That comes from Utah Delegate Craig Bowden. 1-800-ELECT-US or lp.org/join are great places to do those things. There's a request for information. If somebody is looking at the YouTube stream, is there a way to know how many people are currently watching our convention live on YouTube? There is a, let's clear that.
Point of privilege, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Pascal, what's your point of privilege?
The Virginia Libertarian Party would like to thank Dr. James Lark for all of his work over the years, nationally and locally. He has been, his commitment to the Libertarian Party is commendable, and we want to thank him for all of his work.
Thank you, Mr. Pascal. I would join the Virginia delegation in thanking Dr. Lark. He has served the party well for many, many years and been a good source of guidance and advice during my tenure as chair as well. And has, for many years, was my regional representative. Request for information. Ohio Delegate Kevin Kahn is running for U.S. House of Representatives in the 1st District of Ohio against a 12-term incumbent who is under investigation for campaign finance issues with a now back in quorum FEC. If anyone would like to help support this very winnable race, please feel free to visit con4congress.com/donate. Thank you, Mr. Kahn, for running. And Mr. Kahn's website will be in the answered Q&A. Illinois Delegate William Redpath raises the point of information. President and Vice President in U.S. Senate are already on the ballot in Illinois due to our federal lawsuit, but Illinois registered voters, if you visit lpilcandidates.org, you can sign online petitions for non-statewide candidates. It's that easy, and will place more Libertarian Party candidates on Illinois ballots this fall. Thank you, Mr. Redpath. And anyone from Illinois, please visit that site. There is a request for information from Justin Tucker, Illinois delegate. Please help candidates for Illinois State House Joshua Flynn, Sasha Cohen, and Glenn Olafson by donating to their campaigns. Also, registered Illinois voters can sign digital petitions for their candidates at lpilcandidates.org. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. There's a request for information from Pennsylvania Delegate Robert Clark. Is there a strategic initiative to help state and local candidates win office in 2020 in states like Wyoming? And if so, where could one contribute to such an initiative? Believe it or not, Mr. Clark, there is something called the Libertarian Frontier Project, which is specifically designed to help down-ballot candidates in winnable races in Intermountain West states like Wyoming. And if one were to visit libertarianfrontier.com, that would be the best place to help with such an initiative. There is a request for information from Pennsylvania Delegate Grant Meckley. Mr. Chair, if I'm unable to attend Orlando, can I use the balance from my canceled Austin convention ticket towards a Libertarian Party lifetime membership? Absolutely, Mr. Meckley, you can do that. Please contact info@lp.org and we will assist you in getting that contribution redirected towards your lifetime membership. There's a point of information from West Virginia delegate Erica Kolinich. I am running for governor in West Virginia. It is our ballot access race. Please stop by my Facebook page, Erica Kolinich for governor of West Virginia, or my website, kolinichforwestvirginia.com. I'm excited to be a first-time candidate and keep ballot access for the party. I appreciate your support. Thank you for running, and your website will be in the answered questions. Texas delegate Kevin Hale asks, point of information, would it be in order to share with the delegates my campaign website, givecongresshale.com? Yes, it would be appropriate, Mr. Hale, and thank you for running for Congress. There's a request for information from New Hampshire delegate Andrew Olding. Is the Libertarian frontier the final frontier, or at very least, the best frontier? Maybe. New Hampshire delegate Justin O'Donnell. Request for information, Mr. Chair, is it true that a Libertarian candidate recently polled in first place in a contested partisan legislative race in Wyoming? Can we congratulate Ms. Baldez and possibly hear from her for a few moments while waiting election results? I think that would be completely appropriate. And if Ms. Baldez is available, we will promote her to panelist so that she can let us know how things are going in her race.
She's already a panelist.
Oh, she is already a panelist. Good. Ms. Baldez, go ahead. Can you let us know and answer Mr. O'Donnell's questions?
Okay, sorry, I wasn't expecting to speak. Just give me a second.
No, you're fine. Take your time at your convenience.
There we go.
I would encourage people who don't need to be on screen to stop their video as well.
That encouragement is well taken.
Oh, I know why. Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. It's been quite the weekend, and Nick, I really appreciate all your hard work and everybody's hard work as we go through this process. Yes, so I am running for my U.S. House seat, State House seat, sorry, that I lost by 53 votes last election. And I'm very excited. We've been working hard for the last two years to make sure that I have a really good shot this time, and we won't allow cheating to take the ballot. And we are going to get a win for the Libertarian Party, along with all of our other Libertarian candidates through the Libertarian Frontier Project. And we would greatly appreciate donations. There is no cap to my understanding of what can be donated to the Libertarian Project. And my personal link is Baldess for Liberty, and
Thank you, Ms. Baldez. Where are we at in the tallying? It looks like the tellers need Ohio's tally sheet. Ms. Harlos?
It always takes me a second to unmute. One moment.
Mr. Chair, this is Harold Thomas from Ohio. I do have the tally sheet, but it's not identified by state, and I'm not sure which line Ohio is.
It's the one that says OH under mailing state.
I don't see I don't see an OH for mailing state. All I see are the names of the candidates and
Are you
the
looking at the
write-in
Google
list.
sheet?
No, he's doing the tally sheet. And then
I'm referring to VP round run in the Google.
Right.
You fill, it's the
No,
same form.
he's talking about the election buddy. Mr. Thomas, if you text me, I'll follow up with you. Try reloading the page real quick.
All right.
Mr. Fishman, the tally sheets are also in Google, so
No, he's talking about VP round 1, which is the election buddy sheet.
And I am in Google.
Okay. You guys can
Yeah,
handle.
we'll take it offline.
Thank you.
we're still awaiting Florida as well, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Pennsylvania Delegate John Waldenberger has a point of personal privilege. Mr. Waldenberger, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had my hand up since not long before we gavelled in this morning, and I know there are several dozen others behind me. I wanted to take a moment to address not only our delegates, but every Libertarian voter out there. This is a call for unity. I know we have this every year where the candidate that we really wanted to be chosen in the at the convention was not chosen as our nominee. However, this is not the time for bickering. This is not the time for divide. This is not the time for division at all. We need to unite as a party if we want to be serious about this and actually show the rest of this country that the duopoly needs to end now. It is time for us to get together and rally behind our candidate, Dr. Joe Jorgensen, and whoever we choose today as our VP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waldenberger. Ms. Crawford, if you can put up the list of speakers. I have not been really addressing it because we're not at a point where business can be done, but what's been happening is I have been reading points of information from the Q&A, and so the raised hand list is, there we go. All right, so we just got Mr. Waldenberger. We'll go to Alabama Delegate Paul Frankel. Mr. Frankel, you should be able to, Mr. Frankel, you need to upgrade your Zoom because I can't let you speak. So I would suggest upgrading and then coming back in and raising your hand again. Ohio Delegate Stephen Babka.
Yes. Would it be possible for me to be added into the queue for the after vice presidential nominations, right below Utah Delegate Christine Stenquist?
Sure.
Thank you.
Massachusetts Delegate Ashley Shade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also like to be added to that queue, please, for the after vice presidency.
Okay. That should be, Mr. Burns, you have that taken care of. You're putting in Mr. Babka and Ms. Shade. Mr. Babka is right before Ms. Shade. Thank you. New Hampshire Delegate Darrell Perry.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to, at a time that it's convenient, like to be recognized to make a motion to suspend the rules for consideration of a resolution.
Okay. We will come back to that.
Yep, thank you.
Actually, can you just tell me what kind of resolution?
Certainly, I would gladly read the text now.
Let's not do the whole text. Just can you give me the gist?
Yeah, it's a Memorial Day resolution.
Okay. I think. Can you give me the text of the resolution?
Yes, you want me to send it to you via email?
Just read it.
Just read it. Excellent. Whereas libertarians believe that individuals are inherently free and have the rights of, and individuals have the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And whereas we reject the notion that Americans only have these rights because of the atrocities of war, And whereas the Libertarian Party opposes foreign intervention and is the only pro-peace political party, be it therefore resolved that the delegates of the Libertarian National Convention believe the only way to honor the countless victims of war is to end the wars and bring the troops home from around the globe, and be it further resolved that the delegates of the Libertarian Party National Convention support peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none.
Please email that to the secretary and we can come back around.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Harlos.
we are waiting on potentially 3 items. We are waiting on Ohio's entire tally sheet. We do not have it. And I believe Massachusetts may have an amendment. If they do, if they could please upload an amended tally sheet into the folder.
Okay, that was 2 items.
That's it. Did I say 3?
You did.
I apologize. The 3rd is that I don't have any other than this 2.
That's good. I assume that Ohio is still working with Mr. Fishman, so hopefully they're tellers. New York delegate Pietro Garacci.
Ohio's on the way.
Good. Mr. Garacci, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be added to the after vice presidential nominations queue.
Okay. Believe we can get that done. Connecticut delegate Dan Reel.
Hi, Mr. Chair. One problem seems to have resolved itself. We'll raise it when we can, but I have 2 other items. One is a shout out to Harold Harris in the Connecticut delegation who is running for state senate. And the other, if the chair would indulge me, I've been in contact with a Republican who's been thinking about flipping but concerned about money. So if it would be possible, could we do a poll on how many would be willing to throw her, say, $20 if she decided to commit and flip for this race?
What level of race is it?
State representative.
Okay.
I would like to point out that the state chair, as a national committee officer, is prohibited by law from soliciting money for non-federal campaigns.
Yeah, then my idea is probably a bad one then.
There's some creative phrasing. We'll think about it. New York delegate Pietro Garacci wanted to be added to the speaker queue after Massachusetts delegate and Ashley Shade. All right. We're still waiting on, so that speaker queue can get updated with Pietro Garacci. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Oklahoma delegate Aaron Adams.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I have 2 things very quickly. One, I would also like to be added to the queue for post-vice presidential nomination. And 2, I would like to move that immediately preceding this first ballot, we take a short recess. I realize that many people are considering this current downtime a recess, but for those of us who have been acting as a teller, it would be really nice to have an opportunity to use the bathroom and get something else to drink. Thank you.
Okay. Then I will intend that we have an actual 10-minute recess after we're done with this. You are added to that list. We also, at whatever point the vice presidential nomination is resolved, I would be inclined to give approximately 10 minutes to the ticket in order to speak to the delegates and address the body as a more formal acceptance speech. I don't believe our bylaws have any particular way that would necessarily be done, but we are adapting as best we can.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mr. Brown. I think my internet is back up now, and I'm going to try switching over from using my cell phone as a hotspot to my internet. If I lose you, I will be back as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Harlos.
We do have the Ohio sheet. The tellers are working on it, and then it will be audited. But in the meantime, I do have a request from the tellers. Yesterday, some members kindly agreed to send them some booze. They've requested, in lieu of giving their home addresses, if we could just all meet in Orlando and people can buy them many rounds.
That request will be taken under advisement for those people who wish to provide drinks to the tellers. I believe at least one of the tellers had indicated that rather than take that booze, they would ask that the people give their portion to the Libertarian Party. I thought I saw that from Illinois Delegate John Phillips. Yes, one of personal privilege. To the gentleman who wanted to buy alcohol for the tellers, I'd like my portion of that to be donated to the party at lp.org.
I think after working in Orlando, they may change their mind.
All right, if they're just auditing Ohio, can we move on to the results?
No, because it's updating that totals page.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. New Mexico Delegate Helen Malinsky.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sarwak. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I have a point of information regarding New Mexico. We have currently 25 candidates running state in a variety of different positions across the state. We currently have 6 elected in office of elected positions. And one of our positions that we are running is for a write-in candidate for Appeals Court Position 2, Stephen P. Curtis. I also myself am running for state representative in the District 45 in Santa Fe in the capital city. So I wanted to make that a point of information and a point of pride for our state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. California Delegate Andy Craig.
Sorry, I yield, Mr. Chair.
Okay. New Mexico Delegate Tom Mann.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I shall yield again.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. California Delegate Starchild.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a point of personal privilege as a delegate calling in by phone and having to type my votes by email rather than being able to use the automated Zoom system. It takes me a little bit longer sometimes, and especially my computer's running slow. Sometimes I've been able to text votes, but I would request the time for voting on normal procedural stuff be changed back to 2 minutes. Even that has sometimes been difficult to comply with in trying to vote promptly.
I understand your point of personal privilege. In deference to the rest of the body, most of whom are participating via Zoom, we will keep it at 90 seconds. Was there any other reason you were seeking to be recognized, Starchild?
Not at this time, but you know, I do encourage you to look when I have my hand up on the phone, because I'm not sure you've always seen that. But thank you.
Yes, we have. What you've just come up in the speakers list. If you can put your hand down when you.
I don't know how to do that. Is that just push *9 again? Because every time I push *9, it just says you.
I just did
will
it for
be
you.
notified. The host will be notified. I'm sorry.
I just put your hand down for you.
Okay.
But
All right.
*9 works both ways. So right now your hand is down.
Okay. I can't tell because it just says the same thing to me each time I press it.
Well, let's walk through it together one time real quick. Why don't you hit *9?
Just one moment. I need to get to the right place on my phone here. It just did.
Your hand just went up. Now why don't you hit *9 again?
Each time it just says the host will be informed that you would like to speak,
Okay.
so I can't tell the difference.
So *9 If you did star 9 again, then your hand did not go down. If someone knows the phone magic for Zoom, is there something for hand down that's different than hand up?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Kelly.
on that, I think
Go
the
ahead.
only issue is that it takes a long time for them. So if they hit star 9, not only does it put their hand up, they receive a message that says, you have been, hand is up. I think if he waits just another 30 seconds, then he'll be able to hit star 9 again and lower the hand. I also have another point of information regarding 10 candidates joining for office in Kansas whenever is appropriate.
Okay, I'll come back to Mr. Starchild, if you could hit star 9 one more time, we'll just see whether or not it puts your hand down.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, we are ready whenever you are.
Okay. Starchild, I did not see your hand go back down if you did hit star 9, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
I did. I did just hit star 9.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but I can manually lower your hand right now, and then if you want to be recognized again and put back in the queue, just hit star 9, and then we can deal with it after you're recognized, the lowering.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to report out the results. We'll change the screen share to be the secretary.
Okay, one moment. And just as an FYI, this time we copied the spreadsheet and put it in a different location. So people aren't copying the web address sneakily and getting sneak peeks in future rounds. So those of you who tried that, it's not going to work this time. Is it showing the spreadsheet or the other desk? Mr. Chair?
Spreadsheet. The
Thank you.
spreadsheet's showing, Karen.
Okay, I'm going to start moving it forward. Okay, that is all the states. Let me know when you'd like me to go to totals, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. All right, the results of the first round of balloting for vice president. Ken Armstrong received 180 votes. Spike Cohen received 416 votes. Adam Kokesh received 87 votes. John Mons received 322 votes. None of the above received 7 votes, and various write-ins received 1 and 2 votes each. Pursuant to our convention rules, Mr. Kokesh will be dropped from the next ballot. The next ballot will be Mr. Mons, Mr. Cohen, and Mr. Armstrong. If those ballots can be prepared and distributed, once the ballots are, I think we will have a 15-minute recess right now. We are now at 1:20 Austin time. We will be at ease until 1:35 Austin time. I would just ask that the ballots be distributed during that time that we're at ease.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Harlos.
the ballots will be distributed within 5 minutes.
Thank you. And then if Mr. Fishman can do the election buddy for the election buddy states, and I would recommend a 10-minute deadline on that election buddy.
Mr. Chair, I believe Mr. Dosbach, Joe Jorgensen's campaign manager, would like to be recognized.
I will recognize Mr. Dosbach. Can find Mr. Dosbach. You should be able to talk now, Mr. Dosbach. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know there's a technical thing regarding the nomination process, the whole process of our nation, which is that we switch over from primary to general election. In talking with Mr. Fishman, it looks like the best time to do that will be at tomorrow night at midnight. So we just want to let everybody know that any donations that are made to the presidential campaign between now and midnight tomorrow will be part of the primary election. So it doesn't count against your general election limit of 2,800. And the website will be out at midnight tomorrow night for a short period of time while we switch over the financial accounting so that it's going now to general rather than primary. Hopefully it'll be done within a half an hour or so, but there will be a period where that will not be available while that's being done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dosbach. All right, we are at ease until 35 minutes after the hour.
Who's this?
Is it raining?
Feels like it's going to start. Sounds like it's going to start.
Mike, Karen Ann.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Wayne.
He walked away.
What?
I was
I said
talking. Susan said hi.
Oh, hey, Susan.
He says hi back. It seems like every time you guys hear us talking, we're talking about doors or windows.
I guess we've established.
Did the election buddy ballots go out yet?
Yes, they should be out.
I don't see mine for Indiana, and I'm getting other delegates saying they haven't seen theirs yet too either.
Let me check.
Same in North Carolina.
Same with Florida.
Oh, I am seeing a election.
Now I
day
got
thing.
it.
Just
Okay.
just showed up. Thanks.
All right. That's how fast I am.
Are there round two tally sheets?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
So they'd be out within 5 minutes. So you got about another minute and a half and they'll hit your box.
Mine's
Sorry,
up.
didn't mean to nag.
Sent. The emails should be hitting your boxes.
Any particular order, Karen Ann?
They're all going out at once, just like the first round.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Ann, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I'm looking at the ballots from, oh, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm a dork. Sorry. Never mind.
Yeah, Karen Ann, both my links refer to the ballots from state chairs.
I have the same.
Oh, 1 second. Did I copy the wrong one? It's the same link as in your first email, but I will send a corrected one so it doesn't confuse anyone. I hit the wrong copy. But it is the same link as in your earlier email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do 5 more minutes for election buddy being open, please.
And I'm also putting the link to the public spreadsheet in Slack under both 2020